All right, folks, here we are back in KJ Studios. And you may be wondering, man, why is that music so militant and so serious? Because if you ever see that big truck with the big drill sergeant on the side talking about get out the damn house, well, we got him in the house. We got him out the house to get him in the house. So without further ado, everybody, Kelley, Peter Guidry from Forgotten.Not.Gone. What's going on, you guys? Was that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh, good.
That's perfect.
You
Happy
guys,
to be here.
thank you for coming.
Or a pleasure.
So normally, I think the last time we saw each other, it was very cold out there in Craig Ranch Park. And I'm going to tell you, we blew the walk because I'd promised the kids. I think I told you I promised the kids that we would go get something to eat. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know there was a Chick-fil-A down the street.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You didn't see the line?
I didn't know that. I always go out to Sahara.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, yeah. You don't go down Craig.
Hard, like I do, but I miss it. I don't know why. So I go to Discount Tire. That's where I go get all my car stuff done, and it's way down there, closer to the Home Depot and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I think there was a oh my gosh, what's that steak place? It's not Texas Roadhouse. It's the
Bloomin' Onion.
Yeah, it has the Bloomin' Onion in it.
I can't think of the name.
Oh, look, our audience is gonna be like, man, these guys are terrible. Oh my gosh.
Outback
Steakhouse.
Yeah.
There we go.
I said the Bloomin' Onion.
The Bloomin' Onion. So it's right next to Outback. So I didn't know it was there. So anyways, we went there and it was, the whole night was destroyed of all that walk. So
you lost your gains, as people say.
I never lose the gains.
You keep those.
Yeah, I keep those. So anyways, hey, would you guys mind introducing yourself to the listeners out there and tell them all about Forgotten.Not.Gone and anything else you want to share before we get into this?
All right. Well, I'm Kelley Guidry, and I am an Air Force veteran. And I met my husband probably 2 weeks after I got to Italy, which was my first duty station. And I'll let him introduce himself, and then we'll
I'm Peter
ping-pong.
Peter Guidry, retired Air Force veteran. Yeah, I met my wife, Aviano Air Base in Italy. And 22 years later, man, it's been a blessing to still have her in my life. Hallelujah.
Man, look at that. If you guys could see the love in the eyes.
He's laying it on pretty thick.
He's laying it on thick. But that's good, though.
It is.
You're supposed to.
It is.
You know, and so in all the pictures, all the IG, every time I go out and see you guys, right? I wish I could make it out more. There's always love. There's always enthusiasm. And let me tell you why that stands out to me, because I'm an Air Force Wounded Warrior. You guys know that. Stayed in 28 years plus.
Ooh,
amazing.
Well, right. But, you know, I tell people, I'm like, you know, some people came out bigger winners, staying less with less stripes because they didn't lose themselves. And what I love about what you guys bring is that you are there for others like me. You know, for some reason, somewhere down the line, people lose the sense of who they are or what they stood for, and they've adjusted to this new norm. But this dark place in a snap of a finger hits them. And, you know, some of us, like me for years, I'm like, man, how do I shake this? You know, I don't understand. And, you know, you shake it by getting out the damn house, right? And it's funny you said that. So I'm curious, get out the damn house. Where was that born from? Or is that too soon? What came first? Forgotten.Not.Gone? Or get out the damn house?
Forgotten.Not.Gone came first.
Yeah, years before that. But, you know, as part of our growth, you sort of have to do a lot of self-talk to be there for other people, because I didn't feel like, you know, going out with rides on other veterans, but they were depending on us. Like, if I don't get my life together and get out there, these veterans won't have access to our recumbent trikes. And so I used to talk to myself, hey, you need to get out the damn house. Just suppressing my emotions, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it was all about. It was from a place of talking to myself what I need to do. But since that time, it's caught on to, you know, the community. And now it's like a badge of honor to tell people that. But it gives them that courage and that those right words to tell them today what they need to do, but to help them get that healthy hand up.
Push them over the edge. But just like you said, you know, people who stayed in and maybe lost themselves and people who got out, we floundered around like fish out of water for a long time. 2011, Pete and Kelley.
Ooh.
You would not want to meet them. Right?
Well, okay, so let's peel that layer back real quick. Why not?
Because it's taken a long time for us to get back to the individuals we were, let's say, right after basic training. Because even before I went to basic training, I was a different person.
Okay.
I admit that all people, before they go in the military, I think we're a unique breed.
Okay.
It takes a special type of person.
Right.
Right. But then there are certain things that are just, innately in you prior to that. So we get out. My husband was medically separated, 24, had no idea what he was going to do, didn't want to get out the military. They said, you got to get out. You're hurt. You can no longer do your job. See you later. I never thought about how that affected him being 24. We had a huge house out in Henderson. He has a wife. I'm 26, I think at the time. I'm still in. And we just never addressed it. Then finally I get out and he was throwing up blood. Because of the pain medicine they had gave him for his spasms, like, muscle relaxers and stuff like that. And we would go back and they'd be like, we don't know why you're throwing up blood. Like they had no idea. It just years of him being sick.
Yeah.
And then me having to take care of him, but also being disabled myself. So I became unemotionally available for him. I was there in duty because that's what I used to do in the military. I was a cop.
Right.
So my duty was to take care of my husband, but emotionally I checked out.
I think that becomes, so like when I ran mortuary affairs, and I didn't realize I had issues till later.
It's a defense.
Because, I think we are kind of taught you got to shut your emotions off.
Complete the mission.
To complete the mission.
Absolutely.
Just shut it off. And when you go to turn it back on, it's like turning the light off in here and turning it on.
That's when you realize
it's something different.
Right. Yeah. How this might get here.
And
that's
how
when
does
you realize what's going on?
And did you find yourself? What's weird about this is you could almost say you're both SMEs because you experienced the same type of stuff. Maybe not physically and stuff like that, but it's like you're like, hey, I got to shut it off to take care of him.
Well, yeah. Funny you should say that. So we did. I was ill as well. Chronic pain. Lived with it so long that my 10 to me was a 4. They ask you what's your pain level. So I was in chronic pain too. And I tell people, they're like, well, when I start telling my story, they're like, well, that's PTSD. And I told them only one family, one person in the family can experience that. So I took my PTSD and I packed it up so that I could take care of him. We didn't have a room for 2 PTSD riddled people.
But that's, I taught when we say we pack it up, I'm like, that's like putting it in a duffel bag and there's still room. But then when you go to unzip it, it explodes out.
Yeah.
Because you kept putting more stuff in there.
And not realizing
You didn't realize it. Right.
Wow.
Exactly. And that's what I did. I packed it on up. And then when I would run into something else that would keep me from my mission, which was making sure that he was okay.
Yeah.
And making sure that we were okay, I would just pack it in there. And at the end, it just exploded. And that's what happened. My life exploded in 2011, and I was in the psych unit at Nellis at the hospital.
Before that, you was at the other psych.
Was that because he was a bad patient?
No. No, it was my own. But before that, he's right. I had I never talk about that, but I had a psych hold, which is like a 5150 if you ever heard of it.
I have.
They can put you on a mandatory 72 hours, and it was one of the rare occasions where we would switch roles, and we would always do that, where he was going to work and doing everything, and I was falling apart. I was allowed to, fall apart, and he was going to break me out. He said he could, he couldn't believe that I was in there, and we called my mom out, and it was just one of those things. Like, we've had so many things happen, and we're very transparent. We have no problem sharing, because I think it's important.
Stigma free.
Right. I think it's important, like when you were saying, the love that you see between us and everything like that. It's important for people to know you can work at that and get that. Because it didn't just happen, and we did go through hard times. What you're seeing now is a product of a lot of hard work, a lot of self-visiting, self-reflection, and just trying to be a better person and taking care and nurturing your relationship stigma-free.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's how it's gotten to the point. One good thing about us, though, we never stopped being friends. And I think that helped the situation, and also being dual military, doing the exact same jobs, because we were both security forces. And then when we cross-trained into the same career field too, which was vehicle maintenance.
Okay.
I just worked at Red Horse and he worked on base. So it was just mutual respect, mutual already knowing what we're going through. It's not like he had to explain to me he had a bad day or running across a verm with a 25-pound, M60. Like, I got it because I just did it earlier in the weapons storage area.
Yeah, it's funny because everything you just said love and you don't quit. And a lot of what you guys focus on with your mission is those people who give up. They succumb to those dark thoughts and they just give up. They don't have a sense of, they believe, they have convinced themselves, or they have allowed, the PTSD to convince them that they're better off gone.
It's that self-talk.
And it's like, you're not forgotten, right? So let's talk about that, right? So forgotten, not gone. And
well, you are forgotten, but you're not gone.
Okay.
They forgot about us and all the service and why we got in the condition we are. So they treat us in a certain manner, or they criticize us for having these disabilities, these mental health challenges, and they're not willing to help because they forgot that we're doing a job that you didn't ever wanted to do.
Are we talking about now when you refer to society? Got it. Because you know what? It's not easy. So what's funny is when I started looking for work, when I retired, they ask you, have you ever been diagnosed, or are you know what I mean? I think the word's diagnosed with PTSD. I think it was mental illness.
I wonder if they ask that of regular civilians. Is that a
I
standard
don't know.
question? They probably have legally. They probably have to make it a standard question.
I think it for me, I don't know. It may have to do with what I was applying for. I mean, it may be relevant. Like, I think if I was going to, like, let's say Target,
right.
or Home Depot, they
probably wouldn't ask.
They probably would or wouldn't. You know what I mean? But to me, I kind of was like, oh, that's interesting. It must maybe fit within whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
But there is a stigma.
But I was nervous, and I'm very transparent about it. But I think people will say they know you, and they know what it's about. You'll hear them on the big stage talking about, we are this, and we take care of these vets and these disabled people, but the minute they see you, maybe kick into, PTSD mode.
That's right.
Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this guy is,
crazy,
is this or this or this. And that's the first step to you saying, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's happened to me with myself. I'll explain. So you said the minute they see you go into PTSD mode, they're like, oh, I thought I knew this person. Well, that happened to me. That's how I realized I had PTSD, because I thought I knew myself and I didn't. That's when I realized, this is a moment. Like, this is an issue. Like, something's going on. And it was at that point that I realized, man, I'm the last one to know, because people would tell me, you got anger issues. What's your problem? I didn't like being around a lot of people. One Christmas, I think I left his mom at the mall because she thought she knew me. And I said, I got to go. Like, I got to get out of here. And she was like, okay, I'm just going to go look at this one shirt. And she had to call Peter, and she was like,
she thought she was
Kelley?
playing.
I was a ghost. I was at home. Like, when I tell you I got to get out of there and I got to go, I got to go. It rarely happens now, but the first time it happened, I was just as shocked as anybody was that knew me.
That is, it's not bizarre. It's, I have those moments, and until you said that story, it just resonated with me to where, like, I spin up in my head, like I'm pacing, and I'm like, I will leave you.
0 to 100.
Right? Like, wow. Okay. So you were a good, so we bounced around a little bit. So I asked, were you a good patient? Right. So how does it work when, because you can both empathize, not sympathize. And, for me, I never like being the person that is not giving. Like, I don't know how to receive, someone
It's a
taking,
process.
right. And so for you to totally be able to relate what she's going through while she's helping you, I mean, I can't imagine, like, you're going through physical stuff and you're going through mental stuff, but, how did that impact you when you're like, man, I gotta fucking get up and do my part? I mean, I know you said you know what I mean? It's kind of like pouring it into this cup and then like, all right, it's my turn, fill me up. But at some point in time, there had to become some balance and some perspective enough, because you said, I didn't want to meet you guys in this time frame, but I didn't. I met you way over here. So I don't know the journey. So from you being the patient and watching Kelley go through that, knowing that,
Well, he was right behind me. I'll give you the long and the short of it.
Well, let me tell him before that, when we first came back to the U.S., we were at Nellis over here.
Okay.
Kelley was in the store, and she was telling me, I got to get out of here and all this. And I'm like, hey, what the F is your problem? See, we look at it two different ways. I'm going to look at it with aggression and violence, and where other people will retreat. So I couldn't appreciate her point of view, because I want to know what the F is wrong with you. This is before we know about PTSD. And I'm jacked up. You know what I mean? I'm going to fight everybody. I'm not going to retreat.
Yeah.
But we just deal with it two different ways. And I wasn't always there for her until I started understanding what she was going through a lot more.
Okay, so you weren't to a point to realizing.
I want to know what the F is wrong with her. My own wife. So I wasn't kind, and I didn't have the compassion at first.
We were cops, so we kind of spoke to each other.
But versus language. It should have been like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
That's what he
now
asked himself.
I was the last one to find out. Something was wrong with me too. I thought it was just her problem.
But I don't think we know. I think you start watching your shit fall apart around you, and then you're like, oh, it's not a big deal. But then let the right person ask the right question.
That's all it is.
Or say something at the wrong time or right time, and you're like, holy crap. You know what I mean? Yeah, because I know I experienced that. When I was getting ready to. So what happened was when I became Air Force Wounded Warrior, they said, "Hey, we noticed you stopped going to mental health." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, the doctor was a piece of shit." You know what I mean? I was like, he was worthless, and he actually, because I was going through a divorce.
Probably talk at you.
Well, he just said, "Why don't you go figure that out first, then come back?" He was like, "Because all you do is talk about that." And I was like, well, I thought, aren't they kind of connected? You know what I mean? Maybe like this is falling apart. Really, if you do root cause analysis,
This.
Well, and it was post-Iraq. And so I stopped going.
Wow.
And this was the time that I was a social worker in a family readiness center, where we were advocating at reintegration for like, hey, there's a stigma, but go to mental health, go see an MFLEC.
And you stop going.
And then I go to mental health, and I'm like, that's really what you tell me? Yeah. So I stopped going. So when I got here, I became Air Force Wounded Warrior right after Thunderbird 4 crashed, and we did the search and recovery, my team. And they were like, I went to speak to the lady who kind of is the case manager, little tiny lady. And here I am, the big old jacked up chief in this small little office. And she just says like, hey, so I'm just really worried about you. And it just like
did it flow out?
It cracked.
Oh,
yeah. And she said, you need to go back. Like, I'm not recommending. She's like, you need to go back. And I did, and I stayed with it. And it helped. I had a great doctor. He's the only doctor I saw consistently, and always made my appointments. And I'm very grateful for him. I guess one of the things I never like is I'll see him in the gym sometimes, and I don't quite feel so alpha, because he's seen my most vulnerable, right? So okay, so you guys go through this, right? And I know there's steps.
We hit rock bottom together.
Okay,
that was a plus. Right, probably because we've always been really good buddies. So I wind up in the psych unit. I was an alcoholic. I didn't know that.
Okay.
We could drink with the best of them. We were cops. That's what you do. You drink.
Yeah.
But what happened was I went to, I think I went to the ER, and they were like, do you want help? And I thought they meant, do you want help to get sober? Because at that point I was starting to realize, okay, this is not helping.
You're like, bust that IV out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was drinking because of the chronic pain I was in for fibroids and also pill abuse. They had given me hydrocodone, and it had took that to another level because of the drinking. Right. So I said yes. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. but I had already been drinking. So needless to say, I woke up in the psych unit.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Why am I in the psych unit?
So you go to the ER, they say, do you want help?
And I said, oh God,
and
yes.
they meant like,
Thank
we
you.
need to like admit you.
Cause you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs is how they were looking at me. Like, no questions. There was no intake. There was nothing. And clearly I was out of it. So I'll let that slide, because maybe they couldn't get what they needed out of me. But usually they don't admit you into the psych unit unless you say you're going to harm yourself, and you actually have to have a legit plan. Like, you have to say, I've thought about taking these pills and I've thought about doing this. That was not the case. But it was the best thing that happened to me. I'm not complaining. So I was in there for 5 days. I'm a great talker. I'm a great bullshitter. So it was easy to get out.
Okay.
And at that point, they just kind of medicated me because I was, had a little, you get trembles when you go off of alcohol withdrawal.
Yeah, you got
it.
it.
And they treated me for that. They really never talked to me about alcohol addiction or anything like that. That was just it. So I wanted to get out. I got out and I relapsed in like a couple of days. I went back in. When I was back in there, I was, in my head, I was like, okay, I knew I had to do something different, but I wasn't going to get it from them. I could clearly see it was all about medicine and stuff. And again, not knocking the VA. They just had a lot going on. And to them, I was a number. It wasn't, really me. And they didn't have a lot of time to spare for me either. So when I got out, things just got progressively bad. And I reached out finally. I reached my breaking point. And I called them and told them, I need to get help, and they told me to wait till Monday. And I told Peter, and we found somebody right down the street from us. It was Las Vegas Recovery Center. And luckily for me, I worked at the IRS. And that's why a lot of it went on for so long, because I was a functioning alcoholic. I took care of my husband. I cooked, I cleaned, I had a job at the IRS, security clearance, everything. So I was functioning. I thought I was okay. And anyway, they were able to take me, and Peter dropped me off at Friday instead of Monday, because I would not have made it to Monday. I tried to withdraw off the pills myself. So I was 22 days sober from the pills. But what happens with any type of synthetic heroin or opium, you get severely depressed because it messes with your sensories when you take it. So I was extremely depressed. So when I hit the 22nd day, I said, well, maybe if I have a drink, it'll make me feel better. Why I would think that, I have no idea, because it's a depressant.
Yeah.
Okay, go figure. So I drink, but of course, I couldn't get to where I needed to be to get back to, feeling that feeling. So that's when I was like, I hit rock bottom. I was like, I need help. And they were like, well, wait till, Monday and we'll be able to get you into somewhere. And so called Las Vegas Recovery Center. He took me in, and they literally saved my life. And so I'll tell you a quick story. Like you said, you're always the last to know. So they have meetings because it's for addiction, right? Okay. And one of the reasons I never admitted that I had a problem was because I knew I was drinking for pain. And so I knew when I stopped drinking, the pain was going to be there. So there was a fear behind it, because mentally I knew I was addicted and I wanted to stop, but physically my body would not let me. It would not let me stop. But mentally I was aware that's too many pills. That's one too many. You might not wake up. Couldn't stop. So
reminds me of my weightlifting supplements.
Couldn't stop. So we're sitting in a circle, and all the people are sharing, and they're like, hi, my name is Chrissy. I'm an alcoholic. Such and such and such and such. Hi, my name is Dave, and I'm an addict. Yada, yada, yada. So they're going around there, and I'm listening to their stories. I'm just enthralled. And then it gets closer to me, and I'm like, wait a minute. They're about to come around to me. What am I supposed to say? Right. Why am I even in this circle? And by the time they get to me and they tell all their stories, and I realize I'm not alone, right? Yeah. And other people have experience. I said, hi, I'm Kelley. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And my whole life just changed.
Yeah, and I want to throw something in there, especially because the listeners, hopefully they will connect with this. And I've come to find out, when I do this, and I know you guys have seen this, it's like, you can lay all the wisdom, you can lay all the lessons learned out there. and you put it out there and you put it out there and you just watch them sidestep it, dodge it, avoid it. And you know, and I want to make that connection because I experienced that for the first time when I was an Air Force wounded warrior, that if you think you can navigate through these things with people who cannot relate,
Ooh, say it again.
You can't. You know what I mean? They will either, oh, hey, you'll be okay. No, you won't. This is your new norm, and you learn how to manage through it, right? And I think that's what's important, is because when you guys say get out the damn house, you're trying to get people out there, and they don't realize that there may be a connection. There may be a riddle solved.
True.
There may be a newfound love for riding the trikes.
That's right.
Shit, you may even get out there and ride on Las Vegas Boulevard and be on the news one day. And I looked at the little things of like, man, I never thought I'd be a podcaster. And I'm like, oh, I am. Mm-hmm. And then I never thought I'd hear the sound of my voice on a recording and say, it's not so bad. I never thought I'd be remember the first time I ever went to Craig Ranch Park was to meet you guys. I'd never been there, and I've lived there for 3 years. And I think people don't understand that you could probably, it's like I did a post. I don't know if you remember it on Leaderish. It was the idiot light in your car, especially, and it was the low tire one.
I didn't see that one.
And was it this? Maybe it was. Maybe it was this one or Kicking with KJ, one of the two. And I talked about how people will still see the light
and keep on going
and not do it, but they call it the idiot light because it's reactive now.
Mm-hmm.
You should be actively checking your tire pressure. You should be actively, proactively doing things. But so what was the point for?
Well, that's later, but that's what.
Okay,
right. That's what we learned about 3 or 4 years, pretty much into doing Forgotten.Not.Gone.
Mm-hmm. We
learned we had to proactively help veterans
and be there for those veterans, not the ones that need crisis today.
Well, we are. I will say this at bay of getting stoned by some of my fellow vets, but I know they can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
We are a very needy
mm-hmm.
demographic, and we are I don't want shit from you until I need it from you.
And then when I need it from you,
and then when
I want it, and I'm going to demand it.
By the way, it's going to be 10 times harder to fix it now.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And then I'm going to be frustrated why we can't fix it immediately.
Right.
Talking about myself too, guys.
Let's just put it together.
So that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Get out there with like-minded folks, and you wouldn't believe the friends you might make. Like Jesse still talks about, and I don't remember his name, but I know he was the Army guy that the first time we walked. He was wearing the
was it Adam? No, you said the
Ward?
Army guy.
Older guy?
Yeah, an older guy.
Yeah, Robert Ward.
Oh, Robert.
Yeah, it was Robert. It was Robert, right? And Jesse was like, oh, I liked him. He was so cool.
Everybody loves him because his personality.
Yeah, I said, dude, I was like, but you will never meet these people if you just sit in your room playing video games.
That's to get out the damn house. It's literally just a way to kick that door open.
Right.
So that you can go out. I don't care what it is you're doing. Like we're doing the walking now, the trikes, or you're learning about supplements where I just go on a tangent about probiotics and how good it's in your gut. Because that's my thing. That's what I love.
Right.
But you're going to meet somebody and it's going to resonate, and somebody's going to be open and transparent. And just like you said, somebody might say something to you
mm-hmm.
or you might say something to them and it might peel a layer back. It's an exchange of energy. And that's what people don't. Sometimes people it's not what they say, it's how they say it.
Right.
If it feels genuine, sometimes it can make you into a blubbering fool. Because sometimes people can say, hey, how you doing? And sometimes people can say, hey, how you doing? And you really feel it. And you're like, I'm a mess.
No, you're right. There's something written in this is my leadership Bible, by the way. And I'd have to find it. But I wrote it down again somewhere else. And you'd be amazed at some of the best conversation I had in 2020 was with a complete stranger.
That's me all day.
A complete stranger. Because in a lot of the professional development I went to, it will tell you that the people that are closest to you, they don't put in the effort to get to know you as you grow.
Because they think they know
or vice
you.
versa, right? And it's really weird. There's statistically it's proven they're more prone to lie to you or take advantage of you. And I don't mean maliciously. You might be like, yeah, I'll get out there to Craig Ranch. And then you're like 7 months later, you're like, bro, really? You couldn't come out and walk once with me? you know, and I'd even told Coach B behind here, you know, Coach B lost his father, you know, he's a disabled vet, retired Air Force guy. You know, he went home and his father passed. And I said, you know, I really would like to see you more often when you get back. I'm like, that's the whole point of being friends. I said,
We're guilty of that so much.
I realized I missed, and maybe it's part of being married and you're not supposed to do it. I missed like my boy coming over and just walking in, what's up, going in the fridge, getting some juice, just BSing, you know, and then whether they stay or leave or they say, hey, I just need to take a ride down to wherever. Me and Lynn just went to ForgottenNot.Gone, the best French toast ever. And there was some domestic tension. I mean, we have a large house full of people. And, you know, we will sit back as people and try to like, well, I don't know what, you know, like, you know, during COVID, there were people killing themselves. They were killing their family members. And I'm like,
violence.
Like,
it was
man,
at height.
domestic, right? We did pretty good, right? But, you know, we have our moments and we're trying to peel back the layers. Well, what could be the problem? I'm like, we don't get out of the house enough.
Together.
I said, we don't do really a whole lot. I mean, and I do quite a bit. You know, I post everything. You know, I post everything. Like if I'm in here picking my nose, I'm going to take a picture and post it. But I told her, I said, you used to work. Instead, you know, during COVID, you're raising our, you know, our little baby.
Right.
You're staying in the room. I said, I live under the same roof with a wife and my mom. So, you know, I'm like, we have to get out of the house more. And I don't understand. I don't think people understand the power of that. Get out the damn house. Even me, it didn't resonate as hard until this last weekend where I felt so refreshed with us getting out. The biggest mistake I had was we went and walked and I was wearing my Chucks. Oof. And my plantar fasciitis destroyed me the last 2 days.
I got something for
If you see me limping around, that's why.
I should have brought it. I got something
my
for
gosh,
that.
it
all
is
natural.
Really, it's it's so bad right now. Like I've been rolling on an ice bottle and stuff like that.
We could have hooked you up.
No, it's okay. You hooked me up with these drinks, which we should talk about in a little bit. We always do like a unsponsored sponsor, right?
Oh, okay.
But we'll let Peter or you or whoever wants to talk about these juices. But all right, so you were in the hospital.
Well, we'll do Pete's next because then I can flow you forward to Forgotten.Not.Gone. Sorry.
Well, so what I want to say before Pete starts to the listeners, stop waiting around. There's people out there who've been through the shit, who've been through it, us, who have an open table, like to break bread and talk about what we've been through.
But you got to leave your house.
You got to take
or
action.
Invite us in. We will travel for veteran peer support.
Yes, I know. Peter has reminded me several times. He's like, you tell me
we
when,
will come
right?
to you.
And that's what they did, folks. They're here in the studio, right? So I'm sorry, Peter.
But I got sober, right? A month into that, right after I got out, I had to do inpatient. I wanted to do inpatient, but of course, couldn't afford it. And my Blue Cross Blue Shield that I had through the IRS, they paid for outpatient therapy. And I needed something to keep me consistent. So fortunately, that weekend, Las Vegas Recovery Center has something for families to help them understand what that next phase of the journey is going to be as a family member. So he went there, and then he talked about it, how enlightening it was. And I think it made him recognize a few things that happened with him. And then a month later, he wound up in the psych unit, and I'll let him tell his portion of that.
Yeah, that was the time I had just got let go from Palms Casino. You know, I was a bar back over there, and I started off as a porter, you know, the year before that, picking up trash, doing a crappy job nobody wanted to do. So I had worked all this way up to, you know, getting a good spot to be a bar back now, and I had just got let go. But it was for physical conditions. You know, they had made me get reevaluated by my doctor, and the orthopedic says, you know, I shouldn't be working there. But I kept having these physical challenges. I kept on dropping bottles. I wasn't drunk at work. It's just the mental challenges that I went through.
Okay.
So I'm suffering all these physical things that I just don't understand what's wrong with me physically. So I was depressed as hell at that time. And then had a Marine vet introduced me. You know, he had told me about going to getting some help, you know, and I finally saw the VA and all that. But then it was his cousin, which is another Marine vet. He was the one that encouraged. He said, man, you need to get some help. And so I finally had the courage to go ahead and I go down. I went to the VA, talked to him a little too much, told them the truth. And next thing you know, I'm in the hospital 11 days.
No, that's
in the psych unit.
Yeah.
11 days.
Yeah, that was a horrible experience. I almost lost my freedom in there.
So are you willing to share what those truths were?
Yeah.
Right?
What, how it was in there in the hospital?
No, you
No,
were
what
saying,
you told them.
You said I told them a little bit too much of the truth.
Oh, yeah.
And this is why it's important, because you and I, all of us, fight the battle of 60% problem statement, right? And I love the transparency you guys have, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, yeah, I thought about killing myself all the time. You know what I mean? Did I ever say that? You know, when I was going to mental health, finally I got the courage to. And I'm hoping someone will hear this and then be like, you know what? I need to be transparent, 100% transparent to get 100% solution.
Yeah, that's right.
And you do.
Yeah. That was a challenge. Just having that Marine tell me I should do it, it gave me enough courage to go ahead and accept it. But when I've told him that, I just kept getting fired from or let go from job to job the last, few years. Even since leaving the military, I've never had a job over a year. I've always been let go, but it's always been physical things. So I just felt worthless. And there was this time that I was just trying. This was like the last straw, working at the Palms. It's like, man, I gave it my all, and it still ain't good enough. I'm physically damaged. Right. No matter how many times, I was like 215 at the time. I got my swole on and all that in great shape. But physically and internally, I'm still damaged. And so I finally told them the whole truth, that I just wanted to check out, and I was ready to check out at that time. I just got tired of trying at this point, because it's been, 9 years of fighting this whole time, of trying to get it together.
Right.
And so the VA checked me in, into the hospital over there, and I started that journey with them to get better. But it was horrible inside the VA as well. They had me all drugged up on these different psychotropics and all that. But part of the problem is I was suffering through, and I was throwing up blood. So at that time, I was on an all-puree diet. I had baby food prior to that, but I was literally eating baby food for a year. I couldn't
used to blend his food.
Was that ulcers?
He has a torn GI tract.
Okay.
It's a gastrointestinal. So it's from the muscle relaxers. They tear it. So stomach ulcers in the stomach, and then when your GI
just tearing
is
everything
torn,
up, right?
Right. So he was on a puree diet, and so when you're in there, you can choose what kind of food you are, but they was just giving him whatever food, and he wasn't eating, and they said he was being rebellious for not eating, and he was telling them, I can't eat this, my food needs to be pureed, because the texture, it won't go down.
And it's just great,
right? And then I'll throw up again. And then he couldn't sleep because he was in so much pain, because they wouldn't let him do physical therapy, they wouldn't let him do anything.
Okay.
It was a routine with him.
Okay.
Just to have a quality of life. And so his back had spasm all the way up, and they were just giving him Ambien to put him to sleep. And the pain was so bad, he didn't even go to sleep on Ambien. He was just up the entire 11 days.
Well, 9 days. So the 9th day, though, they end up giving me
they helped you.
a volume. And that was the first time my back, actually the spasm, and I had sleep. But
the trade-off is his throat.
The whole time, though, when I'm in there and they see me suffering like this, so they come, every 30 minutes to check your room, they never try to give me any help. They were just really condemning. It was a horrible experience being in there and just everything that I was suffering through. So that 9th day, actually even before that too, I almost got in a fight with the actual guy, the director that runs the place. He was talking to me sideways, and I literally lunged for him. I was about to take him out. And one of the staff members, she stepped in front of her, but she just reminded me, it was a older woman, but she reminded me of my grandmother, and it just stopped me. But I was going there to knock him out, and
he was huge. Think about him being 215 pounds.
Yeah.
And they had both the security guards. They called the code red in there. Security flying in there, the whole 9 yards. And I'm cussing this guy out. But I was just really angry because I was in so much pain and I couldn't get the help that I needed. And I don't think a lot of times at that point gets across that there's a reason why we're angry sometimes. And sometimes it comes from a physical place. Mm-hmm. It's never going to get better for me. So how do I deal with it? And so that's what this whole experience has been about, is I understand how it is to be forgotten. I understand how it is to be disregarded, disrespected, and just, just left in the dust. And so from that point of view, or that time after that 9th day, I finally got some sleep. And I was like, I'm getting the hell up out of here.
Yeah.
And so I just broke up out of there, told them whatever I needed to tell them to get out of there. And that was really the start of my journey. What I learned from that experience is that we're forgotten. They don't care at all. Whether I live or die, I'm just a piece of, trash to
Just
them.
a number.
But fortunately, coming to this point right now, we found some solutions over suicide. And so because I went through that horrible things that I really don't like to talk about, I can now be of service to veterans. And I never knew that I could do that there's life outside the military now. The things that I'm doing right now is above my understanding. I feel like my head's going to pop. But I never knew I could be in value to people even like yourself. You've accomplished so much in the military. There's a lot of people that we serve today that have Bronze Stars, Purple Hearts, all these accolades from the military, and they look at us in a positive light. And I never knew what they saw because I'm just depressed myself. But I'm actually now being of service, and because of my horrible story, it just allows them to relate a lot better. And I don't seem so condemning to them. Like when we say, get out the damn house, it's not to criticize you, condemn, but to be encouraged, to inspire you to know that together we can move forward despite our physical limitations.
Well, I think, I just had a great guy. He's only one of 2 Londons. Well, one of 3 Londons because my son is London now. So my last interview with London, and we were talking about leadership. And this is what I'm going to go back to is anyone who served should be in awe of the fact that you're out serving. Because literally, especially us enlisted guys, sergeant means servant.
Yeah. Right.
All of them should be in awe. I still can't solve the riddle. I can speculate. I think some of us serve honorably and then they're like, look, I just want nothing to do with it. Some it's their calling, right? Like, I'm still present. I'm still here. Who I'm serving, sometimes we just don't know.
Yeah.
But we come together collectively. And I want to say this because I can relate to it. I don't think people understand the grit it takes to wake up every day in pain and still get out there and do the things that you do. Especially because, like if you listen to my PTSD, the ones I do by myself where I had to write it out, I had a lot of anger too. Those are probably my most 3 angriest podcasts. And I said, I have PTSD, I have mental issues. And I said, I'm physically in pain every day.
Yeah.
And you say you know me, but you clearly don't, or you can't handle me, which is okay too, because I don't need you around. You know what I mean? And, like my wife, she's awesome. She understands that. She's like, man, this guy will go from 0 to 1,000. I mean, if in my retirement, there was a reason why they called me Chief Hulk. And because, and it may have rubbed people the wrong way. And I'm like, man, you don't understand the testament. Like, do you know what it takes to get up every day to be in this kind of pain and have your own mental problems, but all day long you're just dealing with everybody else's stuff. You know what I mean? And that healed me. Yeah. But then when you see someone, all right, you don't like to talk about some things, right? But how much when you see someone who's been down your path or they're going down the path, it provokes that feeling within you, and then you have a passion even more so to want to fix it. And then it gets irritating when they don't want to listen.
That's right.
You're like, dude, do you understand? I'm a walking billboard of successful fucked upness.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
I used to tell my wife, I'm like, babe, I'm the richest poor guy you'll ever meet.
He calls me a social antisocial.
Right. But and it's weird. And because, you're already dealing with all these things and you navigate through this where, like literally one of my interviews I did, they were like, well, I thought you just did it because you still needed this kind of attention. I said,
missed the whole thing. They must not watch the show at all.
I almost want to mute and say, do you know what my retirement VA disability is? I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to do anything. Right. I said, I don't need to do anything. I said, I love people. And I felt like God said, you're not done yet.
You better say it again.
Because
that's what I felt like. Yeah. I felt like when I kind of came through everything, that's Forgotten.Not.Gone should have never been in reality,
Right.
How it happened. Because we went from a 1-bedroom condo that we had been for 4 years after we lost a 5-bedroom house out in Henderson. We were in that place for 4 years.
Right.
It was horrible when we took it over, and we just suffered in that place, like just suffered, right?
Suffer for it.
Yeah. And when we got better, we went to a mid-rise downtown. We moved to Soho Lofts. I still had my job because my boss thought it was courageous of me to ask for help. And she said, you asked for help. And as long as you ask for help, I'll always be there. So she smoothed everything open where I just slid right back into my job and, never skipped a beat. And, Peter, like I said, we hit rock bottom at the same time. He was learning from, I would go to my AA meetings and I would come back and tell him, you got to forgive yourself. You got to do this. And,
Right.
I journal. Here's your journal. Whatever I learned, I would, feed it to him. And then he was reading the Bible. And so when I would come home, he would feel horrible, but he would tell me everything that he learned. I really learned I'm a piece of crap.
Yep.
But I can get better. So we were just kind of, feeding off each other. And life was great for a while. Like it was really good. And then we started to feel like, I don't know where's this uneasy feeling coming from, because life is good. We live in a place where people drive Bentleys.
Yeah.
Like it was ridiculous. We should have felt great, and we felt uneasy, and it was because we were saved for a purpose, right? And now it's time to find out what that purpose was. He didn't just, let us come back and have a great life just to say, hey, look at me. We really felt, and that mission, service before self and integrity, just kind of came out. And I said, what if we could help veterans, do like we never knew that what Forgotten.Not.Gone was going to be.
Yeah.
And we were like, what if we could help veterans avoid being separated for 6 months? 22 years, but we were separated for 6 months and it was not looking good.
She abandoned post on me, KJ.
Yeah, he said I abandoned post.
Abandoned post.
But I came back. But we went through a lot, and I said, what if we could help the next, I think it was when I was like 34. What if we could help the next 34-year-old, not have a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth wife?
Yeah.
Or husband. Or, what if we can really give back? And when we went to the war-related illness clinic, they are the ones who let me know that, because I still didn't know that he was suicidal or that he had any inclination of that.
I had a bigger A bag.
Yeah.
Piled all that stuff in there. Those
Yeah.
lumps.
Well, right. He had more. What happened was at the war-related clinic that the VA sent us to in Palo Alto, they sent us there for a week, and whatever was wrong with him, he got to see a specialist. So he had MRIs for his bilateral knee damage, back, GI. We found out his pineal gland was calcified. That's a whole nother story. Just all kinds of stuff. And so they put together like this huge book of what they thought would help him. Right. And they gave us a copy and they sent a copy to the VA. One of the things they said was a trike, a recumbent trike, I guess specifically for it being a rehabilitative type of bike.
Yeah. They're super fun to ride.
But when we were in the room with the mental health specialist, because he hadn't been diagnosed with PTSD or anything at that point. They just thought he was an angry Mo.
Another angry black man.
Yeah. She said, is there anything that you want to talk about that, she can't be in here for? So I'm comfortable. Because I'm like, it's like 14 years at that time. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. And he put his head down and he was like, yeah, I'd like her to leave. And I'm like, her? Looking around like, who?
He was talking about you?
Yeah, I'm like, who is he talking about her to leave? And so she was like, ma'am. And I was like, clutch my pearls. And what's going on? So I went outside. And so the whole time I'm out there, I'm thinking like, what could he not share? I mean, we're best friends. That's my buddy. I don't go to movies with girlfriends. I go to movies with my buddy. What is it?
Yeah.
And then they came out and she had like, I think 4 gun locks for each one of our guns. And she was like, here you go. Lock up and when she did that, I knew. And I'm like, how can I be sleeping next to this person and not know that type of pain he was going through? Because I knew the physical pain I could identify. Like you said, I could empathize because I felt it. But I had no idea mentally how bad he was suffering.
Well, I think we know, I had interviewed Casey, and That was the first time. No, I've opened up a lot, but I think I got a little more in depth. Like, we can sit here right now, cutting up, smiling. Man, great interview. We're out here. We got purpose. We're serving. And by the time you get to the corner, you can already be in that dark place. And people don't realize that, you know what I mean? Like, I tell folks all the time, I'm like, you wouldn't believe if you were a fly on the wall in my brain, you know,
how you talk to yourself,
how I talk to myself, and how maybe ungrateful I am for the life that I have, you know. And I tell folks, I said, listen, no amount of money, no amount of security you have, I said, if you have this, you're never going to escape those thoughts. I never have escaped them. They just are not as frequent. Like, I go to Nellis, I get sick to my stomach. I've been told it's going to take about 3 years.
I used to puke sometimes before I had to go to work.
It's weird. I get so sick, and I was like, man, I served for 28 years. I love the Air Force.
Love the people.
I love the people. But there's a lot of, to me, there's the politics.
Bureaucracy of it. Yeah.
The bureaucracies make me think there's a lot of sorry ass fake fuckers out there. Because at the end of the day, you know, when I stayed in as long as I did, right? And it's always funny to me when I say, hey, I stayed in over 28 years. Peter's like, holy fuck, really?
Yeah,
right?
That's mind blowing.
Institutionalized could be.
And no, absolutely was, right? And not necessarily in a good or bad way. It was bad for me because even when I was officially retired, had the blue ID card, I would get a phone call and I was waiting to be like, okay, am I in trouble or did I do something?
Oh, that.
But all my boys had popped smoke a long time ago, right? And most are like, you were, you know, a tech sergeant ready to be a staff sergeant all the time, right? Tech sergeant, they had me capped out of tech, and then here I am, I'm a chief, right? And they're like, when are you gonna retire, dude? Like, you know, when are you gonna retire? And I had written a paper years ago. And at that time, the stat was 80% of military dependents would serve. Right? So if you ever go, we were all in the military. Oh, my mom and dad were in the Air Force. Oh, my mom and dad was in the Navy. Or we have a family of military, right? And a part of me was like, yeah, man, we're part of this. I call it the pawn system. Right? Like, you know, that the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, or whatever like that. And I'm like, we're the recycled demographic that we're not the social elites. We're not even the wealthy, but we make enough money to have a great life just for me to encourage my kids to join.
Right.
Yeah.
And we keep cycling, right? So my dad did 24 years. I did 28 years, right? I watched my dad when he retired. He wasn't shit to nobody. Hey, I went through the gate with a blue ID card and I wasn't shit. And I was a chief, you know what I mean? They still call me chief, but it's kind of like, oh yeah, all right, chief, have a good day. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with not being nothing, but hindsight 2020, when you're like, man, I gave everything and lost so much of me for
what reason?
Once you realize how much you lost.
Right. And I guess
when you're serving. I
guess it depends on what the value is, right? Because for most are like, well, you know, when you joined, I had someone say, well, when you joined, what did you join for? I was like, I was a dummy, so I didn't join for the education. But I got an education. I was like, I joined for the young retirement, right? I mean, for most of us.
Because you were so young. Yeah, you are young.
Yeah, I joined, I was 17. I traveled the world, and here I am. I got this pension, right? And they're like, okay, well, you got what you wanted. I was like, 30 years ago when I joined, that was why I joined.
You got a whole lot of what you didn't want.
Right. I said, but everything you lose along the way, meaning when you lose yourself, that's not cool. You know, and it's real easy to say, well, you know, all the resources are here. I'm like, okay, we start to, you know, we live in a world of faulty logic. Sometimes as leaders, like, you know, we forget that, you know, people are scared, you know what I mean? And people, husband and wives, I mean, shit, I'll go buy something. I'm like, damn, I got to tell Lynn. You know what I mean? You know, we're humans, you know what I mean? And so they were like, why do you stay in so long? I said, well, 80% of dependents join. I said, you know how many kids I got? I said, one of these yahoos might be my kid's chief. And I said, you know what I don't want? I said, I don't want my son or daughter suffering in silence or being a victim of sexual assault or some other thing. And I raised garbage ass leaders. I was like, so that's why I'm still in, you know? And then when I knew my temper, my abrasiveness was too much, I had a chief. My chief, when I made chief, was like, if you're not having fun no more, go.
Get out.
You won't be a good chief. And it was time. And so I think our listeners, if there was a theme between a lot of us, was there was not a whole lot of self-care and confidence in communicating to the helping agencies in our younger selves, right? Because when I retired, I said, get rid of the service before self crap. I was like, because some of us really take that to heart. Like, you know, and hey, I needed to volunteer to deploy. Okay, I'll go. Yeah. Well, you're going to miss Christmas with your kids again. That's okay. Yeah. It's just a year. How many times did you say that deployment? It's just 6 months, you know? So yeah, I mean, we are the unique. And then I think that's why I hold us to a higher standard. I don't want people who served to act like the people who didn't serve.
I won't. That's the thing about it, KJ. Like, I won't tolerate it. Like, there's some things, like I tell my husband sometimes, treat me like you would treat a veteran. Because he still has higher expectations for me,
right,
being his wife and his friend. Because he's seen me come from, like, he used to say so much, I can't believe you still go to these meetings. I can't believe you haven't had a drink and it's going to be 9 years. Like, I admire you so much. And that blows my mind that he would even say that. But then something will happen where I don't want to get out the bed, or I'm in pain and I can't move, you know, and I would tell him, why don't you have a little compassion for me? Like, you nope, because we got to be there for them, you know, and I respect that. But I get it, though, too, because I'm the same way. I will let a lot of things slide with civilians that I will not let a veteran give me that same answer as to why they're not doing it. Because I do hold them to a different standard. Yeah. Like, as much as I lost of myself and things that I'm not proud of that have happened or that I never wanted to happen, I would never trade being in the Air Force for those 6.5 years.
Right.
The good, the bad, the ugly. I would not trade it for anything. I mean, I got him. I got, you know, so much of it came out for good. And I'm a sucker for service before self. It's all like when you said you feel like we're there for you, and I almost feel selfish because it gives me such gratification because I was born like I'm a nurturer by nature.
Right.
So I like to cook food and watch you eat it. Say, is it good? Do you like it? Like, explain the morsel to me.
So let me throw this little grenade in there, right? Right. So when I did one of my, it was for self-healing, really. It was for me to purge negative thoughts out of and I'd said I would not do negative podcasts. It was more like a vlog, and I didn't. Mm-hmm. But what I'd said, one of them, I said, what heals me is what often hurts me, right? So think about it. Yep. You sacrifice. I could lay in bed today. I'm in pain. Nope. We're here for them. Right? And then you get these maybes. I'm going to show up to the park, blah, blah, blah. Show up. Nobody. Yeah. Right? How do you navigate? So I know, I guess I'm going to tell you how I navigate it. It's not good. Oh, no. You know what I mean? I'm like, these sorry motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Because that's my time. You know what I mean? And then what bothers me more is I wish I could just be like, hey, it is what it is. I can't. I spiral like
that's where we're at now.
You might as well see an aircraft carrier crash right into the pier at full speed.
So you'll get there then. Just have that as a thought. Because we used to be like ballistic. Like, our bikes, some of them are $15,000 a piece. And we're like, why do I have to beg?
Oh, is this going to the mechanic?
Well, not even the mechanic. Why do I have to beg this veteran to come ride this $15,000 bike? Like, I'm coaxing you to, it's a $15,000
for free, right?
Yeah. And I got to beg you. Meanwhile, I'm driving down Las Vegas Boulevard and people are stopping me. Can we rent those? Can we pay? And I provide these free of charge for veterans and their families. And I got people wanting to pay, $100 for an hour a pop, just trying to, get in. But I'm not going to risk the bike being broken for when you eventually do want to get
Yeah.
out the damn house. I want it to be available for you. So we never, ever took that avenue.
Well, those are also the same ones though that'll say no one's ever been there for them.
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
That's what we're starting to get past that point right now. We just realize this message is not for everybody. I mean, it should be and all that, but we're all in our darkness. So we just give people the time to, come around like us. I've been out the military now 18 years. I just feel like my life is just now getting together. So sometimes when those veterans they're not able to receive that message, I'm hopeful that in the future that maybe they can progress in their life or work through what they need to or get their hand up to then circle back. But it's a difficult thing. And, I feel your pain, what you're going through. We're just on the other side of that, And now we become stigma free. You just don't worry about it. You don't show up, that's your problem.
No, you're good.
We used to say we would help every veteran, and then we realized I'm going to help the veteran who wants help.
Yeah.
Because that's the only nobody could have told me when I was deep in being an alcoholic, you need to have just one drink, first off. Or, you're drinking too much, you need to get help. Which it probably would have resonated, but I wasn't ready. There's nothing you can do to make me pull the trigger, right? To get help until I'm ready to get help, until I hit whatever bottom there is, even if I don't have to hit bottom. When I'm ready, that's when I'll make the decision. So for the veterans who are making the decision to live another day, we wanted to be present and ready for them to take that next step, because that was really the question. We had made a decision that we were going to live. Now, the hardest part about that was, okay, how are we going to live now? Like,
well, you had to shift from being those trikes, leading a squad of trikes, to being more of a lighthouse.
Correct.
You know what I mean? To where it's like, look, we're going to be here. The light's going to be there. And that's where I had to pivot. I was like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? You're coming from a leadership position where, let's be honest, you're obligated to lead, and they're obligated to somewhat follow. That's not, you don't really know if you're leading or inspiring when you're the chief. I said it was easier when I was an airman to know if I was leading, because if someone listened to me with no stripes, I was like, I must be doing something good.
Right.
Right. But as a chief, I can be like, yeah, we're going to go do that. All right, chief. See, they're following me.
Right.
Right. You don't know. And I said, I went through all the transition. I was like, wait a minute. I have to just be present and available.
That's right.
That's it.
And I said, maybe one day I'm on this rough waters, months go by, nothing. But then one day a cruise ship with 3,000 passengers needs it.
That's
right.
it.
Yep.
And that's to answer your question. That's how we feel. Like the last walk we did at Craig Ranch, we told people this is going to be our last time here. We're going to different places and stuff like that. And it was just me and him. But what gets us through it, you say that reluctantly because it doesn't even register anymore. We know how good we feel when it's over. Because when we walk, it became this thing where it was like husband and wife time. We got to kick around ideas for Forgotten.Not.Gone and what we wanted, out of our private lives. It just became so much more than just taking a walk. Friday we did 10 miles, and we had never done 10 miles before. Ever.
Ooh, yeah.
And we went grocery shopping, and he had a backpack he couldn't even put his shirt on the other day. I had to dress him, help him bathe because his arm hurt. And people see us walking 10 miles. No, he already has a tear in his arm.
Oh, me and you both. Your right shoulder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it your right one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Since
and
August.
We've been arguing with the VA for 8 months about that. That's an off.
Really?
An off one.
Come on,
that.
VA.
But
do better.
It was amazing. So he motivates me, and we felt so much better afterwards. We were like, man, we could brag all day now. We were only bragging to each other, but it was still, how you feel when you do a ruck march for 20 miles the first time with all your gear on, and you're like, yeah.
This is the force multiplier you guys got, though, is that regardless, you get to be together.
True.
See, when I do this stuff, Lynn will support me from afar. Right?
Well, she has 8-month-old?
He's 9 months
he?
now.
9?
Yeah, and he's the number 6 kid.
Oh, wow.
So, but she, like, when I get into the interview, like, she won't let me interview her yet. The only time she did a video with me is when I let her make me into a female. Like, she did my makeup, put lashes on. I saw that. It was, so what it was is I did a podcast, and we decided that I wanted to be a podcaster. And we had a little scenario, right? And I've let this one go, where the people who were allowing me to use their studio, I think I've told you the story on the walk. All of a sudden, it became free to fee, after it was promised, no, we want you to be free, blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. And so we had to make a decision. Well, I'm the type of guy who buys a lot of shit and never uses it. Right. And so I'd bought a GoPro like on Black Friday in 2016, and I never used it until 2020.
Jeez.
Oh, Lord.
You throw that away.
I know.
Well, so that's how we did.
GoPro 8 now.
We did right. It was a GoPro 5, right?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I don't even want to look at that footage.
Right. So well, guess what though? She's like, well, you have this camera here, and so when I was doing my self study, as you guys know, you have to keep going. You have to keep being present. Like people, they say, the psychology behind it is like, you can't be like indirect fire. You always have to be consistent regardless who shows. Because then people are like, oh, you're serious. And so I said, but I don't have a studio to do a podcast no more. And so she's like, well, I was like, well, let's just do this makeup thing. I said, one, we get to do something together. And it might be fun, and people liked it. It's absolutely terrible, like as far as like the quality and the sound. And I tried to throw music in, and it's just bad altogether, right? As far as it's great, but it's in comparison to what I've learned in less than a year, right? But she will support me on certain things. She did an egg roll time, where we were supposed to do one, so we grate up leftovers and she'll make egg rolls out of them. So the first one, she just went to McDonald's, got a value meal, Big Mac value meal, grated it up, and she made egg rolls and made the kids taste it and stuff like that. So it's brought us together to do a lot of family stuff. But when it comes to her Color Street business stuff and what I do with this, which by the way, I am officially LLC today.
Hallelujah.
Oh, nice.
Congratulations.
For this brand. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with it. But I honestly, my world, probably it's a PTSD thing. Maybe you went through this. Like, I was like, yep. I was like, all right, I'm going to go get this. I hired my friend who's a lawyer because I was reading through all the application. I was like, I don't got time for this shit. So I hired her. She got it all. Brandy, love you. Thank you. And she's like, congratulations. Here's a to-do list. I recommend you do these things. Like, don't mix your personal banking with, the business and this and this and this. And then I sat here looking at all the stuff and I was like, well, I just felt so deflated. Like, not deflated.
Like so much.
I felt discouraged. Yeah. Like, well, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like, and at first I was like, I wanted this to become like multimedia. I envisioned me in a building where I have a couple places people can podcast and maybe a studio, or Lena wants to open a restaurant to where there's a restaurant and then a stage or there's glass where you can podcast and people eating.
Well, you guys are ahead. We didn't start thinking big until we just got big by accident. Like, we didn't start planning stuff, wanting to have a healing and wellness facility and all that stuff to 4 or 5 years in. We were just how many bikes we got? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I love my job, so I don't ever plan to quit it. That's my dilemma. Is I tried to build this and hopefully was hoping my 2 oldest sons would take it over. But that's just something I've just let go of the idea.
You might meet someone and mentor them and you just don't know.
That's true too.
You might meet someone and it might be exactly what they need when they need it, and they might take it over.
Yeah, so I think sometimes you get frustrated what you're doing, but you just got out the military. You're doing phenomenal.
Yeah,
that's what you're. This podcast and everything. You may not see it, but right now you're not doped up on a lifetime supply of psychotropics and sitting in your house.
Being engaged is the best thing you could possibly do.
That's true.
If we had to try to get out the damn house immediately afterwards.
This is giving you a purpose right now, and that's the beautiful thing about it is you're avoiding a lot of stuff. So you're fresh out the military. What are you going to do 5 years from now? It'll blow your mind. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's why it's you just got to keep pushing your content out. It doesn't matter. Every week you're doing a show. I would encourage you just keep doing. Don't worry about the money, the sponsors, the building, who's ever willing to show up over here. You just keep putting on podcasts out. You're going to do something phenomenal. But you are why we do what we do. We want veterans to stop getting out the military, floundering all these years, separating from their families.
Having a breakdown.
All that doom and gloom stuff. By having something that gives them passion, what you're doing right now is incredible. You're avoiding all that doom and gloom stuff.
Yeah. And and I think that's the things that we don't realize.
Yeah, so
Right. I'm doing something that I feel like gives me purpose. And like when I invite you, I'm like, man, I was like, people need to know. Right. And you literally just like, yeah, but you're exactly why we do what we do.
Exactly.
That's right.
And you don't realize
That's why we showed up all those times of walking, and even when people left us hanging, we met you. We met your family.
We got excited when Chris
yeah.
said he was I got this guy. He's just got out the military, and we were like, all right.
Yeah.
We met a guy 5 days out of the military, West Point graduate, and we talked to him about a trike. Changed his life.
Or what he says, I can't believe that.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
5 days out of the military, we met him. We were accepting a check at VA Rep.
Yeah,
VA Rep, which is an organization that helps of realtors that are veterans that help you purchase houses and all that kind of stuff like real estate. And then they do different good things in the community and stuff like that. But we met him at one of their meetings, and he liked the idea of a trike. We gave him all our information, and he researched it. He did he get that trike through the VA?
Yeah, he's got 2 trikes through the VA, and he's got like 3 trikes now. But that's the whole point in reaching these guys.
And it's his outlet.
Yeah, it's avoidance. We want you to avoid all that. But if we also now can give you the understanding that your family is important.
Yeah.
And the more that you can keep the peace in your household and have activities where you guys can communicate, you'll deal with the PTSD.
Right.
You'll deal with the self-limiting belief systems and all that, but it's through your family.
That's your core support.
Yeah, that's what
no
it's
matter
all about.
what.
And
Veteran peer support is important.
A psych pill can't teach you that, and that's all the VA or these different hospitals want to give you right now. Well, you got PTSD? Here goes a lifetime supply of pills. Oh, you got some pain? Here goes a lifetime supply of narcotics. Instead of teaching you, hey, let's help you and your family communicate better. Let's open up the lines of communication so you guys can figure it out better. And that's what I've been able to do with my own depression. By my wife understanding the pain I'm suffering through, we can learn boundaries. I can learn not to be so charged up as well because she's given me that compassion. And that's why we love meeting people like yourself.
Right. Let's change the channel real quick on something, because there was something significant you shared with me when we first met, and it goes along with not giving up, right? So you were the first person to have a decision reversed when it came to your disability, correct? Did I remember that right? Did I say that right?
The Personal Disability Review Board.
Okay.
So when you get separated from any branch of service, you have an ability to go to the Personal Disability Review Board, and they can either give you the retirement or tell you to go to hell, which they did tell me to go to hell. But as I tell them, we serve a guy that's never died, and so he's still living and breathing, and gave us the victory this February. So now I'm officially, a retired Air Force veteran 18 years later.
You skipped the whole thing, baby.
I was getting straight to the point.
Oh, so the lawyer that helped us, NLSP?
A National Veteran Legal Service Program out of D.C. The VA probably around 2012, they sent some information to my house when we were still in that one-bedroom place, and they said that there's a new Wounded Warrior Act that came out from 2007, and that if you, between 2001 and 2007, if you were medically separated and you got less than 30%, you can have your discharge looked at again. And so I didn't do anything about it. In 2013, the VA sent more paperwork again about the same program. Didn't do anything about it. Then I was at the VA hospital, and they asked me about it. And I said, well, let me figure it out. And so then I actually did the paperwork then. And when I was going through how to do the paperwork, I found online about the National Veteran Legal Service Program. And they said they had a 97% success rate, that if they accept your case, that you have the potential to have your discharge, upgraded. And so I went through that process. 2013, they submitted my records, request of that. 2014, they actually accepted my case. And so I was excited. Said, wow, got a good chance of, getting a fair shot at this time.
Okay.
And so 2000, I want to say 16, 17, went to the Personal Disability Review Board. They told me to go to hell. We're not going to change anything. But I look at the reasons why they even told me that. Like, they didn't realize I did security forces. So it's like the reason why I got hurt and all my genesis, my pain was from that, not from the admin work I was doing when I got medically separated.
They based it off of
So
that.
they just pencil whipped it, tell me to go to hell. And so, that time we had started 2013 Forgotten.Not.Gone. And when the lawyer called me that and told me that, hey, Pete, we got the bad news, we weren't successful. I said, yeah, I appreciate you just trying, But as I told you, we had started that Forgotten.Not.Gone. I know they don't care. We're forgotten. Nobody cares. And it just rubbed him the wrong way. It was like he couldn't believe it.
You almost threw fuel on his fire.
He couldn't let it go.
Because I was so positive that I accept that I'm forgotten and that nobody gives a damn.
And then he said how healthy he was helping
because
veterans.
I'm serving veterans all day long, so I can deal with it.
It's like we found a purpose. We're good.
Yeah, and then I want to say 2018 or something, or 17, he ended up calling. He says, we want to do a case study in a class action lawsuit. We want to use you as this case to be able to
Sue the government.
bring change. And so I say, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
I've already moved on my life, but I signed the paperwork for him to do it. And then it was like 18 months later, they ended up calling me back. It was like August 2019 or something like that. And they said that I ended up winning the case. And so, actually before there was another step. I ended up winning the federal lawsuit. So they had to push it back to the Personal Disability Review Board. And then from there, they overturned it. Mm-hmm. And so now I became officially retired. And that was last August when I won the decision. February 2020 is when I got a new DD-214. And I'm still waiting on my blue card ID. And what's next? So they're still dragging their feet on there.
How come you don't got your blue? Is it because of COVID?
Yeah, COVID.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Everything
Haven't been able to go on the base, and they say the passing ID, has been shut down for retiree IDs.
Yeah. So what happened is that when COVID hit, DMDC DOD wide, they if you had an ID card and it expired, it was good.
Yeah.
Right.
The only exceptions were like me, because I had the CAT card. And they're like, yeah, because you're retired now, we want you out, because the TRICARE changes. There's certain things, but they wouldn't give my family
new
ones.
IDs.
Yeah, they said nope. They said DMDC has said nope. You have to wait till, and I'm like, what's COVID? You know what I mean? I'm like, what?
Because we really didn't know then.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's changed by now. But if you get down the road and you need some help, since I was the FSS chief, and that's FSS, let me know. I'll see if I can help out. Okay. Trust me, once you retire, you're almost pretty much a nobody too. Yeah. They're like, yeah, you're not the chief no more. Get in line, buddy.
Yeah. We probably know more by our vehicles than, serving in the military or serving at Nellis, because I would know people at the gate for the longest, from being a cop, and then they just started to be new, fresh faces. So.
Yeah.
But everybody still knows that car. They're like, hey, you guys still.
Yeah, I see it. And you guys
still hanging out in there. I see the shark teeth.
And you guys just recently had it rewrapped, right? Is that the same place you told me to go take the truck?
Yeah, GG Works here in town. They wrapped our truck and a few of our vehicles already. And years ago, they donated, a wrapped for Veterans Day. They wrapped a couple of our recumbent trikes.
Yeah. Shoot, they already have your design, the teeth and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. I
always wished I had a vehicle that I could get wrapped that looked like the old school, like an old school tank or like a A10, right? That'd be sweet, but we'll see. I gotta tow that Honda to California this week, so let's see if I make it back alive towing that far.
But that National Veteran Legal Service Program is a great program. Just going back to that, because civilians, so they want to know how they could be of service. So there's a lot of people that have a lot of skill set, like lawyers. You can really change the difference in a veteran's life.
Right.
I talked to my face was blue to try to get justice on my own. The VA and the military truly forgot about me. It's all in the medical records, my physical disabilities and all that.
Right. But
they have the power to lie and deny, to not give you what you deserve to have. And so it wasn't until that team of lawyers was able to put that paperwork together and get me the justice. But think about what I've been doing, KJ, the last 18 years. I've been throwing up blood. I've been in and out the hospital.
Couldn't
I
keep
mean,
a
it was
job.
a horrible thing. And that's
Yeah.
where the depression, and that's what they don't get when they want to talk about mental health. I'm physically hurting is why I'm having these challenges. So I can't always just act the way that you want me to act. And that's why our program with Forgotten.Not.Gone is so special, because we already have that understanding that certain veterans are not always going to be, able to respond the way that we may want to. But we
Right.
can choose the way that we treat those people with some respect, some more understanding, even though if I don't understand everything. And that's what it's a joy to do right now, just be there in a matter for those veterans that a way that was never, or a level of respect that I never received.
We were able to meet that lawyer too. They did like a little documentary of our case and like 2 other cases.
Yeah, you could
that.
plug that in there. It's on our YouTube, and you could.
But yeah, he was literally in tears when we met him.
Yeah.
Like
Well-
it just did something for him. Like when we told him we were done, and he was like, "No, you're not done."
Yeah, I know. I don't even want to say I think. I know there was a large contingent out there who holds vets in very high regard because their family served, and usually that's always the connection though.
Or they know someone.
Or they know someone, but there has to be there's this vested connection for some
Yes.
reason, right? And there is a large, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think there's a large demographics out there who want to say they take care of the veterans.
So used to it.
So people will go do business in their establishments.
Yes.
I used to laugh, right? I did, like, and I'm not knocking MGM and stuff like that, but I know, like, when I went to get the special card because I'm a veteran, right? And I'm like, woo, free parking, woo, I'm like,
Right.
man, how about a coupon book like once a quarter? That
How about a job?
Right.
How about
Like
some
a
understanding?
concierge job
Yeah.
where you can make like $100,000, something like that.
Well, I have that mentality too. I've had that discussion, and one of the things that, I found when I was transitioning out was like, well, that's really awesome that, these senior leaders roll right into these CEO jobs and COO jobs. And I'm like, what's your retirement already as a general or a colonel? And I was like, and then I go to TAP and I see my peers, these master sergeants or these tech sergeants, and it's like Hunger Games. And I said, the best part
Right.
is, I said, someone's going to hire you for your work ethic, knowing what you come with, and they're going to underpay you.
And know they can.
Yeah. And the thing is like, it's why I was blessed. I mean, I was very fortunate, to be accepted into Leadership Las Vegas as an alumni during a COVID year, the year I'm retiring. And so I was very blessed. I mean, I rolled right into a fairly good job, because you're meeting all these people and these connections,
Right.
But I was like Chris helped me huge with my dad. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate because, like I said, when I was having problems with the VA for my dad for the HISA grant, we had to get a senator involved.
Yeah.
Wow.
Once
Yeah,
the senator
been
got
there.
involved, all of a sudden everything moved smooth.
Yeah, been
right.
there.
And I'm not knocking the VA at all. What I'm saying is that I understand in large organizations, you have people who are supposed to be the shakers and movers and make things happen. And it's much easier to just say no.
Correct.
Versus go outside, think outside the box and say, I'm going to figure this one out. Like that lawyer took it personal.
Yeah.
He did.
He was offended.
He did.
About what happened. But he saw the things that we had been doing over the years.
He looked at I think
the
Peter
website?
gave him the website and maybe like Facebook.
We saw
And
the
that's
videos.
yeah, and that's
Right.
when he was like, "I'm not letting this go."
Well-
He made a point of saying that because we were done.
But do you take it personal? I mean, think about it. Do you take it personal that you have peers out? That's why you do what you do.
Absolutely.
I think that's what it is. You have to take it personal to have the passion.
Yeah, I feel for every mom who loses a son or a daughter. For a wife who loses a husband, for a husband who loses a
especially
wife, for kids who lose a father, a mother, an uncle. I mean, I take it, and doing it for so long, it's that one that hits home. I had a friend in college, my girlfriend, and she dated this guy for the longest. And I had no idea he had even went in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And how I found out he went into the military was he took his life and left behind a wife and 2 little girls. And again, we haven't talked. Me and his girlfriend at the time, which was my college roommate, we stayed in touch. We're your kid, been for instance, kids, parochial school. And she showed me a picture of those little girls. And I had been doing it. It was 2015, 2016, something like that. And so I've been doing it for 3-4 years. And when I saw their faces, that's when it clicked for me. So I can't even be mean to some people who it just doesn't resonate for them, right? Before my father died of cancer, I wasn't doing Susie G. Coleman walks. I wasn't getting petitions, getting my friends to sponsor me for walks so I could raise money for cancer. My dad died of cancer. Oh, it popped up on my radar. Same thing with, suicide and with veteran needs and stuff like that. It's just, they're not bad people, but if I got an autistic son, I'm all for, autism awareness, then, then what's going on with the veteran if there's no veteran in my life? So when I saw their little faces, that's it kind of hit home twice. I understood which has always been my claim to fame, to be able to put myself in other people's shoes, which helps me get to empathy faster, right? Being able to see it from somebody else's point of view, whether it's your point of view or not. That's what, helps you connect with humans. And seeing them, I saw how they felt, and then I realized, was it not that it wasn't important to me to that point, but how much more it was important when I saw their faces and it was someone that I knew that was close to me at one point in time in life. So kind of let a lot of people off the hook and gave me a newfound respect for, practicing what you preach.
Yeah, I think, too, we got to encourage our community to care. We call it Forgotten.Not.Gone, but we're giving you reasons now why you should care, why you should reconsider the way you feel about our community. As you see my progress going from the doom and gloom conversation to now living a life stigma-free with F&G, this is why you should want to give a veteran a hand up. I may disappoint you right now. I may not have the right words or speak your Queen's English so perfectly, but with your hand up, I can evolve, and I can do something special with our community. My own cousin here, my uncle's a Navy vet, but his son, my cousin, took his own life 2015 as well, around that time over here, right behind the Rio hospital. Used my grandfather's gun, took it out his safe, and went over there and took his life. And that's why I always felt powerless. It's like, if I can't help my own family, how am I going to talk you off the ledge over here? Right. And that's why we got to be so proactive. And that's why I want to do more of an inspiration to our community to know that once I get my life together, I can help you out as well. You don't have to be ashamed just because you're not a veteran or we won't talk to you at all. We're healing our community together. Right. And if we're healing our community, that's why you should reconsider the way that you feel about our veterans.
Yeah, I think that was that's something that we overlook. There's a huge when I got to be part of leadership, there's so many people have no idea what happens behind that gate. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of us who are very safe in this little world behind the gate. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going back to my younger days because, when I was younger, I'd go anywhere, everywhere, overseas. If you told me not to go there, that's definitely where I'm going.
Right,
check it out.
Going.
Right. And, and we also have this new world called social media. Right. I've corresponded more with you guys more on social media than I have in person.
Mm-hmm. We won't hold that against you.
Shit. Hey, listen, I'll show you my text right now. I correspond with my damn kids more on text than in person, and they're just upstairs.
Right.
Right. And we're battling that. But you would think, this platform is a better leverage because this caters to social media.
Right.
Right. Versus what you're talking about, get out of the house. We live in weird times now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Almost like I just need to get a camera set up on a trike and do like my own interview.
There you go.
While I'm writing, you know what I mean? And then you have you have this hybrid, right? Well, first I got to get, some of my 500 billion gajillion friends to actually subscribe to my channel so I can actually go live on YouTube. That's the metric I want to put out there. It's like, okay, I got 350 subscribers, but I've got 2,000 friends.
So-called
friends, right? And and then you get torn on the this is the phase you guys are out of. I'm like, okay, every New Year's there's the I'm cleansing and purging my friends list and blah blah blah. And one of the funny things I started to post it and I just deleted it. I was like, okay, it's too
no, not one of those.
Well, no, I think this is a good argument, right? And if anyone's out there listening, I'm right. You guys will be. People were posting the top 9 liked pictures of 2020. There was, every year, right? It was 9 pictures, and these are the top 9. Kevin James was like, I don't fucking care. I was like, I want the top 9 motherfuckers who didn't even acknowledge me on social media. Like, I had a birthday, I had Veterans Day, I had an anniversary, I had
nothing.
A birth of a kid. I want to know who those folks are. Mm-hmm. The ones that are on my social media platform, and you don't ever
comment
say shit to me. Mm-hmm. And you're active. Meaning, why does social media not highlight the people who are not actively involved, but they're present? Because we in the military, like for instance, why are you wearing outfits that say FNG? Right? That almost match. It's uniformity. It knows that we're team together. FNG. We're together, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's human nature. It's part of Maslow to know that you are part of a community. You have a sense of belonging, right?
True.
So I want to know how many of you sorry motherfuckers are on my Facebook page that are not really down for me. Because if you were, and I'm not talking about anybody in my chain of command, but I mean like the people, the algorithm. The algorithm means that you do not acknowledge my stuff ever, which is why Facebook doesn't show it to you. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's what I'm just curious about, because I said that I was going to post that saying, it's not that I hate you and it's not that I won't go out of my way for you, but human nature for me is like, why are you here? Mm-hmm. And if you're down for me and something is free, like what's the beef in hitting subscribe? Like you literally are actively posting 13 things a second on Facebook. But this is the best part. They all DM me wanting support for something.
Mm-hmm. I think too, as well, KJ, we're starting to realize a lot of people don't understand the value. So you have an important mission that you're doing right now, but they don't understand that those 10,000 people at Nellis, if they all just subscribed on your YouTube and watched the video, what that would do, you'd be able to expand and do so much more. They don't understand that simple little just subscribe or like, the value that it does. So when you look at Wounded Warrior, they have 3 million followers on Facebook. And they probably have 1,000 people like each post. It's just a law of large numbers. Then you see all the other organizations that don't get as much attention, or they can't get the donations because they don't have those numbers. So as we complain about all the things we don't have, we've got to learn to invest in one another. But how you invest in one another is by subscribing to that channel. Mm-hmm. And
liking. And that's what I said. I said, I thought you was about this mission. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I said, I see you post about it. So that tells me 2 things. You don't know the content exists, or you don't know how to connect the dots. Mm-hmm. Like to me, if someone's like, hey, KJ, will you let me interview you and share it on? Of course. I put your guys' organization on Kicking It with KJ. I put it out there on IG, and I'm just like, and I may not do it like every single time you post, but for me, it's gonna come when it comes up on a year. Then I'm just gonna go straight DM and say like,
what's going on?
Like, yeah, it's time for you to go, or what's up.
Well, we had so many people that used to show up. Like we get a free booth at Champs, and there's some people that only come out of the woodworks for that. When they're gonna get something for free, and we've had people drop our names to people. When they're talking to people and they say, oh, I want to donate, then come to find out they donated to that person. We never saw what that donation was or anything like that. Yeah. It's just you take the good with the bad, because even with being around a group of veterans, not everybody is the caliber of person you thought they were.
Yeah, and I get it. So I get admonished all the time by the real chief of the house. And she's like, you give people way too much credit than they deserve. And that's why I said, yeah, I think this year I'm going to have to pull back, focus my energies. I think we will always achieve if I'm going to achieve it, I'm going to achieve it regardless whether you help me or not.
That's right.
For me, it's more of like, but there's a message here that even people you lead and inspire need to hear this, right? Don't make me default to like, so are you hating, or it didn't come out of your mouth, so you don't want to share it.
Right. I finally put out a post, and And I was scared to do it. I actually did like this little a metaphysical kind of thing with my friend Annie. She's so talented, but she realizes mind, spirit, and body has to be in tune, right? And we rarely pay attention to our mind, like the real subconscious, because it's always fighting the ego. Someone will ask you a question, your ego's going to answer, and it's not necessarily going to be the truth, right? So after I had that with her, because I was blocked, and it took forever for me to even admit that, because I was still getting out the house. I was walking with my husband. Something was off. And if I admitted it, that means that I'm not being 100% for the people I actually help. Right. And I'm not being a good caregiver to my husband. So finally I broke down and I was like, hey, what would be some good books to read? And that's when she was like, what's going on? You're not over there trying to read books on, what's happening. But after I had that session with her, I posted, and I still thought about not posting it, but I said, I'm not always trusting. And now I've come to the conclusion that I'm not going to feel bad about it, because there have been plenty of people to give me good reason
stigma-free
not to be trustworthy and not to be so quick to trust people and give them 100%. And that was my post. And I was like, and I'm not going to apologize for it. And it felt so great just to say it out loud. And not feel guilty for it, because sometimes I feel guilty for feeling guilty. Yeah. I'm like, well, I got a nice house. I'm not worried about if I'm going to eat the next day. I got a loving husband. So why can't you get out of the bed? Why can't this? And I feel guilty about that. But it's okay to not be okay sometimes. Yeah. You just face it and then move forward. But when you try and just pack it in the A bag, that's when stuff starts to happen. Well, it's going to bust out like a can of biscuits.
It's funny you said that. So I did this was our 12, I don't remember those. This is our 12 day. This was my 12 day of Christmas wrap up. And Lynn was like, do not post. You got a new truck. Right. So I buried the video. I buried it inside the post. Facebook will only show like 6 of the pictures. It was buried.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so it was funny. I thought nothing of it. And Lynn was like, she goes, isn't that funny? She goes, you buried that post, that picture. She goes,
people found it,
but it was almost at 1,000 views with all kinds of comments and likes. She goes, but you can post about the PTSD of some airman,
right? Yeah.
And it's sitting at 32 views,
right? Yeah.
She was like, what's that tell you? She was like, oh, they see what you post.
That's right. They just scroll.
They see what you post. She goes, but the thing that blows my mind is that people are more attracted to you almost like bragging about something that you have.
Right.
That no other folks, may or may not be able to get right now. I was like, that's funny. Huh? I was like,
it's not even a value.
Because she's like, she's like, don't post it. She's like, because it's a year where people are struggling and blah, blah, blah. And I love my peeps. But so my master's degree is Six Sigma process improvement, right? So data is everything. Root cause analysis is everything. A baseline is everything. Contrast is everything, right? And so I'm naturally drawn to things that would drive us nuts on the inconsistencies.
Right.
And so I've learned to navigate through it and be like, whatever, it's no big deal. I don't even look at the stuff no more. I make the content, I post it, and I move on, right? But it's those things that you'll see. It's like, holy crap, like, maybe I should just go start getting some bands and, put the big money band to my ear in the studio and act like I'm a baller, and stuff like that. It's like, is that what's going to attract people? And
that post didn't get a lot of likes where I was talking about, trusting of people
and
being unapologetically. I posted about some vegan croissants that Pete found the other day. I had 56 comments within a matter of like 5 minutes. Yeah. Where'd you get it? Oh my God. Show me the French toast when you make it. What kind of egg did you use? Because you're vegan.
Why do you think that is?
It happens all the time. Anytime I post anything about, because I'm like just vegan crazy now. I didn't become a foodie until I became vegan. And so I like to recreate stuff when I get a hankering for it, right? I'm making gumbo this weekend. Pictures to
But
follow.
do you think that's part of the stigma though?
Yeah, because I'm all things Forgotten.Not.Gone. And I'm not, when I became sober, the more I talked about it, it set me free. So I'm super transparent. People can ask me anything and talk to me about anything. There's not a whole lot of people who I've spent more than 10 minutes with who don't know what I've been through and where I've come from. I make a very, very clear, and I'm very transparent about that. But as soon as I post something about food,
that's what I mean.
people
I feel
lose
like
their minds.
if
like
you
if
post,
I had a food YouTube channel or a food,
They want to be entertained,
Facebook,
KJ. That's what.
well, that's
I
what I'm saying.
guess
If you
so.
post about something that's your passion, that let's say is tied to emotions, and let's say PTSD and stuff like that,
nothing.
it's almost like talking about politics at the holiday meal.
Yeah.
They go the
Right.
opposite way.
Right. But if I post, like, oh, by the way, that's the infamous puppy play mask where I went live.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you saw that video.
I don't think
Oh,
so.
okay.
Do you know what puppy
Did
play
you
is?
see it?
No, I couldn't see it at first because, but I see it now.
So there's a thing called puppy play.
I'm
So
thinking.
Yeah.
so it's a mask. It's like an S&M thing.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's what I'm
Right.
thinking.
So for Thanksgiving, I had my daughter record me in front of the house in my robe.
Lord.
Yeah, you
In my
outside.
mug. Do you
Oh,
see
you
that?
saw it?
So that's that mask. That's
Yeah.
the infamous mask that I got over at a Cocky Punk in New Orleans Square. Yeah, I don't know. I'm weird like that.
Funny.
Hey, you having fun, but that's the
But
whole
yeah, I
thing.
guess people are trying to be entertained, I guess.
Yeah,
They're
it
just scrolling down.
it's just-
If it's something entertaining, they'll take a little bit, or they want to joke. But when you're talking about real stuff, but I would encourage you to keep on telling your truth, because the things that you're putting out, and I've seen the different veterans and the things that they have expressed over there is incredible information. But it's
Yeah.
not going to resonate with everybody. But that doesn't mean you should stop doing what you're doing to try to
Right.
appeal to the masses. Eventually, this platform, if you keep being consistent every week, you're going to do phenomenal things over there. But right now, you're just talking to the wrong people. And I keep saying that. You can't say the right thing to the wrong people, and you can't say the wrong thing to the right people.
Yeah, true. That's factual.
Yeah, facts.
So let's ask this, because you believe it or not, we're at an hour and 40
I
minutes.
can
Oh, wow.
imagine.
Right?
Yeah.
Too easy, right? And by the way, this is delicious.
We brought you.
I'm on super low carbs for the next 8 days. And so I was drinking and sipping,
the
right?
carbs in there?
Right? Oh, the carbs are ridiculous
Is
on
it?
all these things.
Maybe
yeah.
because it's fermented.
No. So like this one right here is 24 grams of carbs, which is probably not bad for, Pete, because, he's like a big sexy
I'm
guy.
trying to think of what
But-
carbs it is, though, because you're doing keto. I don't think it's gonna. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's this one. This is my favorite so far.
See, that's what I thought. That's
What's that one? What's
The
that
Mystic
one called?
Mango.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mystic Mango.
and it
is
has
good.
this fragrance in the taste.
Yeah.
It's like almost
Yeah.
like a slight flower, like almost. It's actually very delicious. And
Synergy is our favorite brand of kombucha.
really,
Then followed by this one.
Yeah, then followed by Health Aid.
kombucha. This helps me. I can't. Had with the GI problem. Physically, I wasn't able to drink. It started, making me vomit the blood.
Yeah.
And so having a healthy alternative that still made me feel like I was doing something. I put into my little fancy glass
Yeah.
at home, and I'll be swirling it around, feeling like I'm doing something.
so that's your favorite one.
Yeah, the grape Synergy
This one?
kombucha.
All right, so you ready for a little impromptu commercial for him?
Yeah, let's go.
Right, listen. All right, hold on a second. Here we go.
One of my favorite kombuchas, Health Aid kombucha, great vibes. Followed by the Synergy raw kombucha grape chia. What a delicious drink. And I also take this with my kratom by Urban Ice Botanicals so I can get out the damn house and live a life stigma free with F&G.
Wow, very good. You get this one.
These nuts. Got him.
I forgot I added that whole thing. So when my son was there, by the way, that was very good.
I know,
Very
off the
impromptu.
cuff.
That's some ALS.
We reached
NCO
out to them before. He seriously had a problem. Like we had
Kate.
boxes and boxes of kombucha. And so we made a video about Forgotten.Not.Gone. I was like, kombucha Synergy, help us. My husband has a problem. And I think we tagged them or something.
And they sent some?
No.
No.
Oh, them jokers are weak. Because I did a Lay's, because I love the flaming hot kettle chips.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you saw that little skit I did with Lynn where I'm
Look at all.
I'm doing it. I'm on live, and she's like, "Hey, I need you to help with the baby," and I'm like, "I can't. I got the flaming hot chips," and so she starts yelling at me. I tagged Lay's, and then I messaged them direct. They read it.
And didn't say anything.
I was like, man, I could have ended up on a commercial at least.
Hey, that's at
Come
least
on.
they probably steal it. We'll probably see it on a commercial.
Man, I
where
hope
they stole it.
Maybe it'll be like, the little tiny. It'll be on like the little.
So make sure your thing is timestamped, so then we can come back and be like, they stole that.
Yeah, I was wearing my Kicking It with KJ shirt, my Air Force retired chief hat. Man, I was fired
And they
up.
didn't say.
It's okay. It's okay. Maybe one day. So let me ask this as we as we try to wrap it up. And usually my wrap ups are like another 20, 25 minutes, right? So, like, what's next? And you guys said you're not at Craig Ranch no more, right? And so when I say what's next, if that's G14 classified, I get it. Because I know we were talking about last time we walked, you're looking at changing your business model. You were talking about changing it up a little bit.
Yeah, so
Wednesdays.
Yeah, Wednesdays, we're going to move the Saturday nights of ours, walk it out to Wednesday. We're going to be at Bruce Tent Park, which is where the farmer's market is at.
At noon.
Yeah, and it's right by the VA peer support where Chris works at as well. That's the next park over.
I was just by that park today.
Yeah, well,
That's going to be the park, because on Wednesdays they have the farmer's market.
So we're planning on parking at the farmer's market, walking down to where Chris is at, the park, walk all the way around, and then join the farmer's market. And just, again, we're just giving outlets. That a lighthouse you were talking about, it's overwhelming to always try to provide group activities to everybody. And a lot of times, especially with bringing out the trikes, like when we were on the news the other week, I had 2 veterans didn't show up the last minute, but they didn't know it took me 2 hours the day before to load up the truck and to go through it with the mechanic to have that bike available for them.
Right.
And it's like, it's physically like killing me. It's, it's a burden. So I want to just focus on more people that, on individual events.
Show up ready.
Yeah. And then the rest of the time, we'll just walk it out on Wednesdays. But
we need to do a video of you, like doing a video of you getting ready. Like
we filmed it before with
and
the
post it like bruh. So so listen, everybody, show the fuck up.
If you say you're going to be there, if you can't make it, you can't make it. And we don't need to know that. But if you say you're going to be there,
I can't stand that shit.
Well, the same excuses that they use not to be there is what I just suppress my emotions. Like if you're reaching a bag over there, we got you a little gift from our Urban Ice Botanicals over there. But basically, I just take a little kratom pill, 2 of those. It gives me a little bit of relief from the inflammation that I'm suffering through. Allows me to perform for a few hours and do what I need to do.
Is that this?
Yeah, that's one of them. You
That's
got
the
3 different
one.
So that's the evening recovery blend. It has a melatonin in there. We're not giving you any hocus pocus, scary stuff.
Yeah, nothing will get me fired, right?
No.
Nothing that's going to get you fired. And then you have a morning focus. So you take 2 of those before you go to the gym. You be jacked up.
Okay.
They just were at Mr. Olympia as well.
You were advertising this, weren't you? Did you do a picture of this?
Yeah, well, they're one of
Yeah.
our sponsors, but this is how I came off the oxycodone and all that doom and gloom stuff. That's got you a flag right there.
Guess where it's going?
But,
It's going in here.
Yeah. But these are all the different things that we're showing you solutions over sedation and solutions over suicide. So having ability to have something to calm down the pain has allowed me to get out there and suppress those emotions. But now when I get around the veteran peer support, life feels so much better right now. But that's what we need.
Yeah.
We need solutions over suicide.
That day was hard for me. I was in a lot of pain. And when we got home, we were like 2 hours in being home. And I said, hey, my stomach still hurts. He was like, it's been hurting. It hasn't. I was like, I completely forgot it was hurting.
Yeah.
I got on my bike. I was riding, joking with everybody. But I was surprised when I felt the pain again, because I was like, hey, my stomach is hurting. He was like, you said your stomach was hurting before we left. But just getting out and outside of myself and being there for something other than me.
That's right. That's what it's all about.
I mean, it didn't necessarily take the pain away, but it took my mind off of it. So I wasn't even aware that I was feeling pain until I got home and kind of, unwind a little bit. And I was like, why is my stomach hurting? He was like, because it's been hurting, Kelley. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, all right.
Isn't that why we drink too much or get caught up in drugs? We're trying to escape for a few hours. Somebody's, injecting that heroin in there in their veins. They get to escape for a few hours.
My escape is the gym.
See, that's
Right.
Yeah.
And I did that for years. But when I lost the physical ability, that's when I ended up in a hospital. I've been training since I was 18 up until 2011. That's what I was 269. You see some old pictures of me.
So I got to tell you, so Lynn will tell you the one thing that I drew the line. She knows, do not prevent me from making it to the gym.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm Lynn.
Right.
Sometimes I would tell him, hey, you need to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Get out the damn house out of here.
So she knows, right? And so I can't imagine if I had to be able to cope and not be, you know what I mean? And not go to the gym as a coping mechanism.
And that's how it is when he gets really, like his knees and his back spazzes up and he can't ride his trike. So when I'm talking to the caregiver, I'm telling them, you know, you guys think it's okay just to deny physical therapy for such a long time and kind of just play ping pong with us between community choice care and you guys and say, oh, well, we'll get to it when we get to it and blah, blah, blah. But when he's not being able to ride his trike, I got a whole different individual that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Right? It's 0 to 1,000. I asked one question, and right after I asked that one question, he says, why are you asking me 1,000 questions? It was literally one question.
One question too many.
And that's what he says. And he's not being like, he really feels like that. He just felt like I asked him 50 questions and I asked one question. And I'm telling them, you're not there. Like, you're not there all this time when we have an outlet that we can use and utilize to get us out of that, you know, depression or out of that isolation and stuff. And you take that away, it's dangerous territory because all we're doing, like, you can't fix us. That's what the VA really needs to know. You can never fix us, right? If it's chronic pain and there's something we can do more natural or whatever, the thing that we're trying to do is have a quality of life.
That's right.
Right.
So getting out and talk, I'm having a fantastic time. I'm so happy that we were able to get over here and finally, you know, talk with you.
Kicking it
and,
with KJ.
Yeah,
Man.
kicking with KJ.
Had I not finally had you guys here, I would have been like ostracized. Like,
no, of course not. But, you know, I'm going to go home and feel even better because I did something productive today.
That's right.
Versus, you know, giving in to not wanting to do anything and then beat myself up about not giving in.
Yeah, Lynn doesn't understand. Well, she understands now. So let me rephrase. I say that the wrong way. Like, she'll say, babe, just sleep in. I'm like, no, I get up and I go to the gym.
Because that's going to make you feel better,
early,
actually.
right? Yeah, I do not know how to sleep. I don't take naps. I can't take naps. I feel guilty. And she's like, and I learned. So it was funny. I thought we were on the same page. And so we are on the same page, but you went a different direction. So maybe you can... I learned when I found a place of peace and like clear mind, that lasted for a hot second. And I found that I had to go find conflict to feel comfortable. I don't know how to manage this mind. Maybe you, because I have an
what the
anger.
gym is about, you know.
Yeah.
You add battle, you know.
I got this rage in me all the time that if it's quiet and calm, I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. Yeah. Like, and I'll go to social media. That's when you'll see me post
raging,
potentially, contentious posts because I'm seeking conflict. And then I'll post it and I'll regret it and I'm like, crap, you know what I mean? And I think that's a cycle you can relate to because our thought process are very much probably the same. Yeah. You know, it's like she'll tell you I love conflict. Like I thrive in conflict. I think better in conflict versus when it's calm, you'll hear me stutter over my words a little bit. You'll see me try to overthink what I'm trying to think. But when I'm upset, shit, I'm like Eminem in 8 Mile. I'm the last. I'm the B-Rabbit who beat Free World. Like, so when I'm upset, I can flow. But when I'm happy, I stutter over my words. It's like I got like this speech block. It's really weird.
You just explained something for me that in the 22 years of knowing him, I never got into this instant. So when we go out on the street and we're about to turn, if he's driving, if it's a bunch of cars coming, he will go right out there and he thinks so quick. Like he's just right out, you know, he commits, he's out there, we're fine, nobody gets hit or anything like that. But if we pull up to it, and now I'm realizing that might be what it is. If we pull up and there's no cars coming, he takes an extra long, he like look, and I'm like, what the hell is he looking for? There's no cars.
Right.
And he won't go. But if there's a ton of cars, he's split decision Pete.
Combat driving.
I think some of us have been so conditioned, our homeostasis in conflict is our natural state. And it sucks because when you work in institutions, that's not what they like.
Especially security forces.
Yeah, especially if you're a big guy.
Yeah.
You know, because we grew up with the big guy being the bully in high school, 3 o'clock high. You know what I mean? And imagine being the big guy with stripes, and then having PTSD, where you just you're like, hey, a lack of detail is what gets people killed.
True.
So fucking fix your shit.
That's right.
You can't talk to me, Chief assaulted me. What are you talking about? I told you to fix your shit.
Assaulted me with your words.
Chief assaulted me.
You know, and it's just like, and so, yeah, I don't know. And I don't want to end on negative. So I guess I would ask this, right? I always like to end on a positive note, right? At least the guests, if there was words of inspiration. One last Hail Mary to connect the listeners to your story and saying, look, and this is why it's important, right? One, you know, I don't want you to feel forgotten. I mean, let's be real, right? I mean, that's like, if I didn't know you and you said, yeah, we're all forgotten, people might be like, man, that's so negative. Like, because I'm sure you've had debates about that. I mean, even I've shared my perspective on how veterans are looked at with someone I hold in high regard. And he's like, man, you're hanging out with the wrong vets. I'm like, bullshit in my head, you know, but that's not the intent. The intent is to prevent people from feeling that way. I mean, you know, we are all inspired, right? If you could connect them to your stories and why you exist and where you want to go, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think too, what you just mentioned, PTSD, and we mention that a lot, you know, that's just one of many emotions. You know, happiness is an emotion as well, right? Anger is another emotion. So which emotion do we want to spend more time dwelling in? But at the end of the day, I like to share with people that there's a cost of freedom. And we've served, we've done a job that 93% of America doesn't want to do. And so we come home having paid that cost of freedom, separated from our families because of that, come back mentally, physically damaged, and we just need a hand up. And if you spend more time, less time criticizing us and telling us all the doom and gloom stuff of how bad we are, and give us that hand up instead, hey, we'll change around. We'll evolve. We'll work past the limitations we have today, but we'll come back in our communities and we'll do service before self again. We'll make our communities better. And so when you see our journey, the progress, just if you look on our YouTube from 2013 to 7 years later now, we sound a lot different. We look a lot different because society has invested in our mental health. And so now I'm so grateful because I don't feel worthy of that help, but I accepted the help and I didn't squander that opportunity. So now you see me filled with joy because of that. So that's a positive message over here. I don't know what life's going to happen the next 2 years, but I'm happy to be alive today. And again, I just want to see what the world has to offer right now going in 2021.
Well,
You just made me inspired.
yeah.
Well, get out your credit card and go to ForgottenNotGone.Org and come off your stingy bank account and fund the mission today.
I would say too, so the Forgotten Not Gone, like you said, it sounds negative, but in our mind we were saying, hey, I'm forgotten, but I'm not gone.
That's right.
Like the not gone was the emphasis, not so much the forgotten. And I used to think that, you know, being in the military and being a cop, you know, even though I didn't want to be, was my claim to fame. And I was going to tell those stories and I was going to live in that past for the longest. Because if you had told me I'd be able to do what I'm doing now and have a quality of life that was better than when I was in the military and that I'm more proud of than the things that I did in the military, I would have never believed you. So I do this to let veterans know you can have a quality of life greater than anything you ever did in your military service. And I know sometimes it's hard to even wrap your brain around it. You know, if you've been in for a long time or, you know, you had, I got an accommodation medal for Operation Enduring Freedom. I always forget I have it until Pete says something about it. You know, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I did have that, because I'm just so proud that I was able to talk to an Army veteran the other day and tell her something that moved her. And then he overheard me say it. And I'm such in the moment. He was like, what you did for her really meant something. I'm like, I just said blah, 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 blah. And when I said it back, I was like, oh, I learned something from that too. So a quality of life greater than you could ever imagine is what I want to leave with people. You know, stumping out veteran suicide is one aspect of it, but it's so much more.
Your military training is going to allow you to do something special. Just like right now, KJ, you may be the next Joe Rogan 5 years from now.
Say it again.
Oh man, I hope so.
But you remember, we came from a psych unit to talking to you right now, 9 years later.
Man.
You're just getting started. You just got out, and you're already on the incredible path right now. So what happens when you get the resources that you need right now? Your life is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't even know how this happened. I just ended up online. And
Yeah.
That's how do you?
Yes, genuine.
You get a passion for something, and you like you said, you knew there was something you were meant to serve, right? And what capacity is just the question. And that's how I always felt. I knew I had a purpose, especially when, you know, even when I was going through what I was going through, I used to tell myself when I was driving into the IRS, I would say to myself, one day I'm not going to need these pills. One day I'm not going to go home and drink. Like, I just knew that there was a purpose for me because there had always been one. I'm not a mistake.
I believe in the little things. Like I love one of my favorite masks is the one you guys gave me.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And people are like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm like, I feel like Snoopy when he's flying his house, and I feel like I feel like an A10, right? And I'm kind of built like one, right? I have always appreciated even the littlest experiences because those are seeds.
They mean so much,
right? People just want to see the big giant tree. They don't understand the seed that was planted, right?
And call him the seed planter.
That's what it is, right? and you know, so you know, when you do for this, right? And it's anybody. It's not just vets, you know, it's anyone, right? And to make someone feel special, right? That's priceless. Yeah. And you know, when I see someone sit in a chair and they put on the thing and they hear their voice for the first time, they're like, "Whoa." Right? I'm like, "I know." I know, huh?
Great.
and then they get to hear themselves on YouTube. And I think I tend to be more strategic minded. I'm a chess player. I don't play checkers, you know, and you know, like with posting on Facebook and Instagram and this, I said one day I might be in ICU. And my family might be too busy to visit me, or they won't. I don't know. But I said, I have something to look back on. Yeah. You know, and like you said.
Or leave them.
Or leave them, right? And I said, and the smile on someone's face when you make them more important or you make them realize that, of course you could be in a podcast. I mean, I've had more people that when I asked them, they were like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, why?" I'm like, if you noticed, I don't have a whole lot of big time CEO, you know, Jeff Bezos in my studio. You know, I was like, I like to stick up for the little guy.
It's the respect. Like when you still have that, like a chief for 28 years or whatever. Like when you asked us, it's the level of respect that we have for you that makes it flattering. So they're not flattered they're actually going to be on a show or whatever. They're flattered that someone they respect took an interest to ask. That means that you feel like we have something to say or that they have something to say. And that's just me speaking from my point of view. I'm just saying it wasn't, I've been on many a podcast. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't somebody who I respected that asked me and that I can relate with. This is a little bit more special. You know what I mean? Got it. That's what they're being flabbergasted at. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna have. Okay. I don't want to ask them. You know, I'm like, why are you so fired up? It's just let's talk about you. You know, and they're like,
it's a big deal for some. Like we feel what you did. You know, in the military is great because I mean we were in the military. We know what it takes to just be a senior airman, let alone a chief. You know, and then the aspect that you're still serving. Yeah, the service before self. That's a big deal. And I tell people all the time. Sometimes I feel selfish. Because I get so much out of helping other people that I feel like I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah, but you bring people with you, though. That's the difference. There's, like, you see the stuff, like, in Leaderish I post, you know. There's people who do it. To me, it's easy to do stuff for others, really with the intent of, look at me.
Being seen. Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's true.
And then there's people, I like to be seen, too, but... I don't think I do it for those reasons. Notice I said I don't think. Right. I'm sure there's times, you know what I mean? Like I did a impromptu interview. I was having one of those days, and I was on I'm a recumbent bike guy, right? And I'm flipping through, and I see an opportunity to support a small business, right? double amputee, great guy, right? And I was like, I'm just going to call him and see if he'll do an interview with me, like right when I got back from the gym. So far, super great guy. It was Dylan's Catering, and I think he just changed the name. And so it was Christmas time. So while I'm interviewing him, I reach out and I asked my buddy, said, hey, is there a family in the Air Force in need? Right. So I'm going to buy Christmas dinner from this small business and have you send it to them.
Right.
Right. And I think it all worked out. Like, it all worked out, but the other part of me was like, I was disappointed. I was like, man, you couldn't have taken a picture and sent it to me or, you couldn't give KJ, a shout out saying, hey, thanks for supporting small business. And oh, by the way, you fed a needing family in the Air Force.
Because that can inspire somebody else to do the same thing. It's
yeah,
not
you
really
would think.
Trying to be seen.
Yeah.
I want to know that your what you did actually meant a value, and a lot of people don't see that, so they don't necessarily want to help sometimes.
And then when people,
and I didn't want to post it, but I hoped maybe they would and said, you know what, there are good people out there, and thank you.
Because when people ask you that, like I've had people ask me, can you support this? Can you support this? And when I say all my money is going to Forgotten.Not.Gone, it is. But I do a lot of supporting of other organizations, like a ton. But I don't want to say I'm doing it myself. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you want someone. Yes.
And then I don't. And the only reason I would want someone to say, "Hey, she does this," is just to know I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm not telling you to support me without me supporting other organizations. I am supporting. I just don't need to let you know.
Listen, you're not asking. This is the thing. So I told you my closings will end up being like another 40 minutes, right? The little person trying to come up will get slaughtered for expecting or asking the same things the wealthy corporate companies do. They do it all the time.
All the time.
Oh, GE would like to thank the NBA and the NFL for blah, blah, blah. Or the NFL would like to, they make a way. They do it all the time. So what you're asking for, to me, is not unreasonable. It's like,
it's not unheard of.
That's us growing each other. Like
the way they do.
If you appreciated it and you appreciated it, and that was not, that I didn't have to do that. Again, like I said, I'm not gonna do none of this. I can go ball out, make it rain. And I was like, man, not even a picture, just to say, hey, thank you. And I just realized, and this is the thing, people don't understand. I do this. I'll tell you, it works in my house. I work and make the money, but I am not the accountant. When I go and do shit, it goes through a formal inquisition of like, what's this for?
I'm the inquisition.
Right? I'm like, well, it don't say Little Debbie's and it don't say Spearmint Rhino.
So
you know what I mean?
Good.
Like, I'm like, and
Approve
I'm just asking you to prove this, right? People don't understand that when the person who loves and cares is it's not reciprocated or appreciated, then the person who is expected to support it is not going to.
Right.
It's a family affair, right? So when I go and do stuff for these folks, it takes my time, it takes my money, and when it's not reciprocated, that means whether I want to or not, whether it's selfless in my heart or not, you don't understand that I've taken time away from the person who's going to lay by my deathbed.
Yeah, that's right.
To help you. So while I expect nothing in return in the moment, I sure as fuck expect you to support me when I ask for it.
Put some respect on my service.
You know what I mean? Some respect, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even that, but like I said, my coin as a chief said all hua or less hua, more dua, right? And that derived from a story that I could share with you another day, but there's a whole lot of talk and a lot less action. Yeah. No, I got to tell you the story, right? Why not, right? And I'll tell you this real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Sound good?
Good.
So when I was a tech sergeant, I worked for the MSG Commander as the NCIC, the Commander's Action Group, largest mission support group in Air Mobility Command, back in the BDU days, right?
The good old days.
Crisp sleeves, right?
Yeah.
Right? Shiny boots. Not the Cora frames that I could buy in Korea. I did wear those for a little bit too. and and you hat, right? So I'm walking with the colonel, and he's like, "Hey, Sergeant James, you know that guy over there? Like, I think he's like staff sergeant, something like that." And I'm like, "Nah, I don't, sir." He's like, "You don't know him? Everybody knows him. Like, look at that really, so the colonel's setting me up. And by the way, this is the only Colonel Hardwick who's ever beat me arm wrestling. He's a professional arm wrestler, and I was yoked. I was a big dude. He beat me. And he's like, look at them boots, polished. Look at that hat. He's like, you know what that guy is? I was like, Sharp, sir? He was like, that kid is all hua, no dua. He's a facade.
Oh, I know a couple of those.
He's a fakester. He's what takes away from the hard-working performers because people are too busy oohing and awing over a mirage.
That's right.
And it goes back to the hearts of and the intent of several people who post the "it's me, look at me, look at me, look at me," right? And what's bad is, we're in this business to where, and I'm a caller out, and I just haven't. I stopped, right? You know what I mean? And like, it's easy. Like, I can literally do a screenshot for 1 year and then blast folks on like, but I thought you weren't about this. You know what I mean? Or I can post a podcast on how, diversity and inclusion is important, blah, blah, blah. And one of my friends who's supposed to be about that life never acknowledges it and shares it. But then I watch them create their own shit perpetuated by the stuff I post.
Yeah.
Right.
Copycats.
And I'm like, so I don't understand. You know what I mean? And that's why I came up with that saying in London he was like, that's your saying. I said, most can't handle your light. So they turn their back on you, but stay close enough to keep their backs warm.
Hallelujah.
Right. And so it's just a fact. And to me, I just had to accept it. It's like, yeah, you know what? You don't have to admit it and you never will, but you need me more than I need you, apparently.
Hallelujah.
When I would rather us need each other and grow.
Right.
So,
Wait till you have somebody pitch you your idea. So I guarantee it's going to happen, and it's going to be like, and think of me when it happens, when they come and
they
say,
pitch me my idea.
I got an idea about doing a podcast, and I'm going to talk about stuff that, I'm going to get real with the people, and I'm going to remember me. Just think of my face
I will.
when they do it.
Right now, I deal with the, and it's almost a year later. Hey, tell me a little bit about this podcast. I'm like, why don't you fucking listen to it?
Right.
And there's a little thing called about. Just click that and read what it's about.
But you'd have to go to the page
Well,
to actually do that. So.
Well, why I dislike that is because it's an inauthentic question. You're just entertaining, and I'm like that puppy who gets excited, right? Right? No, you're playing me. You're hustling me. Meaning you're trying to make it seem like, yeah, I'm aware of what's going on in your life, and I'm going to have this little fucking dialogue, but I'm not doing nothing with it. Right? I'm telling you, like, in the worst times of 2020, I said there's fakers, takers, and promise breakers. And I said, what bothers me the most about all that is I can handle the truth if you just say, hey, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
Because at least I know where you stand. But when someone tries to talk to me about my podcast, I'm like, well, why didn't you listen to it? Why didn't you subscribe to it? Or when someone's like, oh, man, I'm going to connect you with so-and-so.
Why don't you do it?
I've had so many people say they were going to do some stuff. It never fucking happened. And so to me, I'm just like, you're just full of shit. You know what I mean? Because if you were genuinely and authentic about it and it was a time thing, there's a thing called following up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's a thing saying, hey, listen, this is where it's at. But I've learned the hard way that, you're just not that important to people.
Yeah.
And that's okay as long as you don't make me feel like I'm that important to you.
Mm-hmm. And then show me that I'm not.
Right. That's the part I have a problem with. And it's okay. I said I'm going to disconnect with several folks in 2020, regardless if we're associated via Air Force or leadership. I am, because to me, it's like, I'll see you when we're forced to be together, which is situation normal anyways. Mm. You know what I mean? And I'll be cordial and I'll be polite. Like I was telling London, I said, there's a lot of people who have been given the title leader and they couldn't fucking lead shit. Right. I can tell you where I've led, and I didn't say I'm like all things leader, but I definitely know that you're not a leader, but you're a damn great manipulator in the network. Right. And you're not leading if you're just taking.
True.
So
I'm excited for you though, because you're gonna find some people who are gonna blow your mind. That's gonna reinstill in you what you already know. You're gonna find some Kelleys and some Petes and some KJs and some Lyns and they're out there. And when we meet them, it overshadows all the people who've pitched us our own idea. I'm gonna get these bullets, and then wow, that sounds just like what I'm doing.
It broke my heart. I told London, I said, I never understood it till now why when people come up and make it, they don't share the love with their organic, all of a sudden, because even a friend of mine, she was like, yeah, the people who are supposed to be my friends, now I just call them fans. You know what I mean? Because I never hear from them unless they need something. You know what I mean? And now I understand, like, it's, when you come up and, I will if I want to. Just like I told some young captains once upon a time, said, if I want to be a chief, I will be. And as soon as I made it, I made sure they knew.
Right.
And that's not gloating. It's just, I understand there's a handful that when and if I make it, because I decide to, there will be a handful that I'll remember.
He says that all the time. Peter says that all
there's
the
a
time.
handful that I'll remember that I was like, yep, you was there. You was there. I had to tell my buddy, I said, you know why I comment on people's YouTubes when I watch it? So they know I'm there. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, give me a break. I was like, people don't know Facebook, YouTube, they provide analytics.
Right.
Data. So
he made me aware of that though. There's a lot of people that don't know. I make sure I like it as soon as I go there.
Well, because that's how it gets picked up in the algorithm.
Yeah.
People don't realize it. It's like, if you want to do me a solid, like I get it. Like, when you did an interview, you just did one, right? Then I went to click on it and I was like, whoo, I was like 4 hours, right? But it wasn't just you. It was a 4-hour show. I was like, ooh, I'm going to have to break this up into like 6 months.
I was mad that I had to sit through it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was about to say, hey, make sure your friend don't listen to this.
No, she's my close friend.
If I may, KJ, I want to, as you say, close them out with a positive message of hope so you can cope.
Off that dope.
As you see on our shirt, 1 Corinthians 12, 14, 20 to 26. But
sums up his.
when you guys get a chance, you check that out. It says, "For the body is not one member, but many," and that's what we're really about. This is a team effort. We need one another in each other's lives, and together we're overcoming our disabilities of self-limitations, and life feels so much better because we have people like you in our lives. So we want to thank you for giving us a platform and ability to be here today, and we're just excited about your growth. Like you say, you're just getting started over here. You're going to be the veteran Jim Rogan over here pretty soon.
Well, maybe the VA hospital will give me a little corner to have like all those folks in there, because I love what you said, and I'm gonna tell you how much it means to us. I didn't realize it until I walked my dad through the VA hospital in my uniform one day, and I could not get 5 feet without someone like, hey, and man, I got my dad. So it's my dad. So I can't like get, too emotional around him, because I take care of my dad every day. So when you're exposed to an older vet who's got Parkinson's and, and he's gone through his things, and I take care of him every day, you would think you become, numb to that. So seeing an old vet doesn't do nothing for me. What does it for me is when they come up and talk to me. And then I wonder if they have someone at home.
Yeah, because they're so open.
I wonder if they have a friend. I wonder if someone's taking care of them. And I look at my dad, I'm like, dude, you live with me. I'm like, you got your best friend every day to harass you.
Yeah.
And you're complaining about me harassing you.
Yeah.
This guy may have had to take that bus or that shuttle here, and they're so lonely.
Yeah.
And they miss
talking to
the
people.
community of the military, because we do, right? I mean, I'll run into men, like I said, I'll go into Nellis and I'll feel a certain way, but the bipolar in me, as soon as I see someone I miss, though, I'll sit there and talk to him in the middle of the commissary aisle for 20 minutes, right? And
just do it.
I got so my eyes just got watery because I didn't even know who this guy was, but of course he's wearing his Marine hat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Made his day. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, what do all those stripes mean?
They're so funny. Like,
I said, well, what do you mean? He was like, well, I was a sergeant. So what are we about the same? I said, I think you know we're not. I said, I think you know we're not. I said,
let him slide.
I said, I have as many up as you did down. So, and he laughed. He was like, well, what is that? I was like, it's basically like Sergeant Major. You know what I mean? Or, it's Master Gunnery Sergeant in the Marine Corps too. Sergeant Major or Master Gunnery Sergeant in the Marine Corps. And
I am the man.
No, and I'm not, like I love people. So I think people will mostly like they will look at us, how we carry ourselves, and they'll look at the hard outer shell. And I said, but you understand that that's over time to protect what's inside.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And usually by then in today's world of highly sensitive, everybody's offended and Jesus, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you never get to know the true me, but if you did, and I did offend you, one, I will admit to it. But if we grow from that, there's authenticity to that relationship. It's just like how you two managed to get through rock bottom together, and you're still here today.
Hallelujah.
And Forgotten.Not.Gone lives, right? So with that, before I run my mouth some more, we should take it out with this hardcore sound, right? Hey, listen, everybody. And if you notice me looking that way, I'm used to doing my outros with the camera, right? And then Peter busted out his own camera. Forgotten.Not.Gone in the house. Great people, great couple. Couples that stay together, thrive together. And for what you do for a demographic that needs it, they want it. You want it. I need it. I want it. I'm just really grateful for your presence here, and I'm thank you for continuing to build a community of care the way we've created communities of consumption. It's time for people to give back. So everybody out there, don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, share. If you're still out there, Forgotten.Not.Gone, look them up. I will put their information in the descriptions, and take care and be well.